Okay, so start na. Okay, so module 9 is basics of 3D animation. Now, so what nakalagay dito is module 9 and module 10, but it's going to be divided into two meetings na, no? So module 9 is yun na, basics of 3D animation natin, and module 10 will be basic rigging and advanced camera movement. Now, nakalagay dito meron ng recording, but I'll be changing that, no, into this specific recording after this, okay? So here's our usual shtick, no? Topic shortcuts, terms to remember. Of course, we're going to be discussing what is 3D animation, what is VFX, and what is SFX. We'll also be discussing the core principles of animation, specifically sa 3D animation, yung keyframe animation. I think we're all pretty much familiar now at this point because you've already taken 2D Ani, no? So we'll be discussing keyframing. Discuss din natin yung frame rate, auto key, set key. We'll also be discussing other forms of animation, like for example, how can we animate modifiers? How can we animate our textures? How can we animate our lights? Because literally, every single object na pwede natin malagay sa 3D scene natin, sa ating softwares, most of the time they can be animated, no? So we'll be discussing that. So aside from how we animate things, we'll also be discussing specific editors. Like for example, itong graph editor, and then of course our dope sheet, we'll be discussing what are those two. And then of course, lastly, we'll be discussing how we can save our animations, and I'll also be adding in how we can save our animations despite it being a image sequence and convert it into a MP4 without having the need to use Adobe After Effects or DaVinci Resolve, no? So kapag wala kayong software sa ganon, by using Blender, magagawa natin yon. So download na rin kayo Blender kung wala pa, no? And then yung sa pinakababa, basic rigging, that will be for next meeting na. Okay? So aside from that, module 9 will also have a specific activity, right, which is activity 8. Okay? So be ready for that as well. Okay, so our terms to remember is number 1, 3D animation. Next is CGI. Next is VFX, SFX, FX, keyframing, timeline, frame rate, rigging, and rig. All of them will be discussed pretty much, the majority of this mga terms dito madi-discuss natin with this specific recording, okay? So for modules 9 and 10, like I said, we can get to end this terms means discussion by ending it to what we all came here for, 3D animation. Next, these modules will cover the basics of 3D animation, from basic keyframing, camera movements, and modifier animations, to basic rigging of characters, to further expand the locomotion possibilities of your assets. Okay? So before we begin, syempre, we need to know then, what is the difference between 3D animation versus VFX and SFX? Ano ba yung CGI na tinatawag natin? So let's differentiate what those are first. So pinauna natin, what is 3D animation? So 3D animation, in its simplest form, is the process of creating 3D images in a digital environment, or yung tinatawag nga natin na 3D space, no? So in 3D animation, 3D assets or objects, or yung mga models na mga pinagagawa natin, are manipulated to create movement within the scene, no? So yung 3D assets and objects na yun, hindi lang yun yung sa ano natin, hindi lang yung mga models na ginawa natin, because other than 3D assets, we can animate cameras, we can animate lights, we can animate textures, and of course yung mga modifiers na mga pinaglalagay natin sa ating mga models or sa lights or whatever object na nandun sa scene natin, no? So knowing all of that, this is actually where CGI comes into play. For any output done with 3D animation is considered as CGI. And as we all know, CGI stands for computer generated imagery. So it is generated by using a computer. So CGI, medyo broad na topic yan, but in a sense, if it's computer generated or ginawa siya ng computer, it's considered CGI, no? Hindi naman siya dapat kailangan palaging ilagay sa filmmaking, no? So CGI is a pretty broad topic talaga. So when knowing all that, we can really relate 3D animation sa CGI, because in some movies talaga na mapanood natin ngayon, for example, yung mga animated movies, yes, they are CGI created, no? May mga 3D animation. Like for example, yung sa Minions, di ba? Or basically any sort of animated movie na nakikita natin ngayon, mga 3D animated movie, they're all CGI, they're all made with 3D animation. That also includes din yung mga basic na ano natin, mga CGI natin sa, like for example, sa mga Marvel movies, no? So yung guys sa mga Spider-Man, sa Doctor Strange, every single CGI shot doon, lahat dumaan yan talaga sa 3D animation, dumaan din yan sa 3D modeling, and yun nga, no, doon na pumapasok si CGI, okay? Now, in my personal opinion, ito yung mga leading softwares talaga that are heavily used for 3D animation. And some of these are actually official then. No? The number one leading software talaga in terms of not only in 3D animation but also in 3D modeling is Maya, or specifically Autodesk Maya. So yes, Autodesk software ang sa mga leading na software talaga, no, si Maya. Now si Maya, mainly gamit talaga yan for 3D modeling. And then yes, of course, gamit din siya as for paggawa ng mga animation, no? So general animation, general modeling. Now aside from that as well, kaya rin niya gumawa ng basic SFX or yung mga special effects natin, ano, yung for example, yung mga nakikita natin sa mga games, yung mga effects like mga sword slashes, yung mga tawag doon, mga explosions. So that's basic SFX, no? And kayang-kaya ni Maya yon. Sa lahat ng mga Autodesk product, from 3ds Max and Modbox, si Maya lang kayang gumawa ng ganon. Si 3ds Max, yes, kaya naman niya gumawa ng basic special effects, but there's a limit talaga na kayang gawin ni 3ds Max. Okay? Next natin is Cinema 4D. Yan. Itong current software ang nagiging pabor na ako ngayon, si Cinema 4D. Now, Cinema 4D is created by Maxon. So, it's a pretty underrated na software talaga to. But it is heavily used then in filmmaking. So, just like Maya, almost actually in terms of software, fairly similar siya sa Blender, no? May fairly similar yung UI niya sa Blender, but yung basic overall function niya, similar din siya sa 3ds Max. So basically, it's a blend between the two, no? So actually super dali kayong makaka-adapt if you plan on using Cinema 4D in the future. But trust me, guys, you might want to play around first, get to know kung ano yung current software na ginagamit nyo, whether it's 3ds Max or Blender, before switching over to Cinema 4D. Because yun nga, no, basically any sort of software change that we do, talagang meron tayong adaptation part pa talaga, no? So we have to learn to adapt pa talaga. And when it comes to Cinema 4D, I've been doing 3D modeling for a long time. For me, madali lang yung transition ko from 3ds Max, from Maya to Blender, and then to Cinema 4D. So medyo sanay naman ako on basic transitions like that. And aside from Maya, no, si Maya, general animation, SFX lang, kaya din suportahan ni Cinema 4D ang basic VFX, no? Kaya niya mag-handle ng basic motion tracking, no? So, kaya din niya mag-import ng mga footage talaga and basically create your CGI from there, no? So, gamit na gamit din talaga sa Cinema 4D in terms of filmmaking. And then of course, yun nga, basic SFX. Now, my personal opinion, SFX ng Cinema 4D, I'm barely scratching it pa, but yeah, in terms of SFX, medyo mababa yung quality niya, no? So, knowing all of that, knowing yung SFX ng Cinema 4D, dito naman papasok si Houdini. Now, si Houdini naman, yes, kaya rin niya gawin yan. Pwede siya mag-general animation, but doon lang talaga siya. Hanggang basic animation lang siya. Mahirap mag-model sa Houdini because like any other, sa mga ibang softwares kasi dito, si Houdini kasi, medyo math-based, no? So, medyo may mga calculations, no? So it's a bit complicated na yung Houdini. I tried it once, but yeah, hindi ako masyadong nag-stick dito. So Houdini, yes, kaya niya mag-general animation, kaya niya mag-VFX, and then of course, kaya niya mag-SFX. But compared sa Cinema 4D, when it comes to VFX and SFX, definitely si Houdini ang mananalo when it comes to the two, because si Houdini ang napakaganda ng niya, mga simulations niya na pwedeng gawin, basic rigid body, basic physics, basic water simulation, smoke simulation, basically any sort of simulation na pwede nyo maisip kayang gawin ni Houdini. Pero ang problema lang, si Houdini, it's very hard to learn, no? Speaking from experience. And then of course, last natin sa of course is si Blender and then si 3ds Max. Now, bakit sobrang baba para sa akin si Blender and si 3ds Max? Now, personally, si Blender pwede pa siyang tumaas eh. Kasi right now, maano na si Blender. Talaga sumisikat na siya sa mga film industry din. Like for example nga, yung sa Into the Spider-Verse, na nagamit si Blender talaga. But for me personally, it's not as strong as like sa Maya, sa Cinema 4D because yes, si Blender, yes, number one, it's free. So yun ang number one part na maganda na already from the first three, no? Kasi Maya, Cinema 4D, and Houdini, they're all paid and napakamahal ng licenses nila. But si Blender, it's literally free. And the good part din kay Blender is, yun nga, no, marami rin siyang function. Pwede siya mag video editing, pwede siya mag-audio editing, pwede siya mag-compositing, no? So basically, kaya nang gawin ni Blender. So it's basically a jack of all trades. But that's exactly the problem with Blender. It is a jack of all trades, master of none siya, no? Master of none. Wala siyang kahit anong specialty. Yes, kaya niya mag-modeling. Yes, kaya niya mag-animation. Yes, kaya niya mag-basic SFX and VFX. But that's exactly the problem with Blender. It has way too many functions to actually focus on one specific thing, no? So in terms of progress, in terms of function, like some previous discussions ka natin, like for example, sa 3ds Max, yung kahit yung basic na UVW map modifier lang natin, which is something that almost all 3D softwares should already have. Like for example, sa Maya and Sigma 4D, meron silang ganun. Kinakalculate na kagad yung mga UVW maps for the textures para ma-adjust na kagad yung textures correctly. But si Blender, wala. Stuck tayo to basically unwrapping it already. And yun nga, Smart UV project, which is exactly which is exactly the case that I've been trying to say. It's literally jack of all trades, master of none talaga siya, si Blender, and that's also its main weakness as well. And then of course, lastly, 3ds Max. Now, as we all know, based from experience already, 3ds Max medyo lacking talaga siya in terms of how powerful Blender can be. So I'm not being biased. It's just literally a fact na at this point, Blender is definitely on top na ng 3ds Max. Now, the only problem lang kung bakit tinuturo ng 3ds Max is because yun nga, it's an industry standard compared to Blender. No, in terms of how it is used sa sa mga film industry, talaga mauuna sa 3ds Max talaga. Nasa top 11 pa rin siya when it comes to industry standard softwares. No? Si Blender, wala pa siya. At best, siguro mga top 8 siya. But when it comes to 3ds Max, siguro top 5 or top 4 siya. Si 3ds Max when it comes to industry softwares. No? Kaya tinuturo siya. Yun yung base na tinuturo namin. Okay? But yun nga, no? Slowly transition na to Blender talaga. So, no worries pa rin naman. Okay? So, next na tayo. Now that we know what 3D animation is, what is the scope of 3D animation, discuss na natin yung VFX. So you probably encountered this term already numerous times throughout your stay in MMA. So VFX, or yung general term natin dito, is visual effects. No? So it is a process wherein the real-life imagery is converted with computer-generated elements. So basically, it's TLDR, it's literally a mixture between practical and digital. So what happens here, dito na rin pumapasok ulit si CGI, no? Kasi when it comes to VFX, we are basically merging real life imagery or yung mga natin, yung mga film footage natin with digital imagery by recording it and then importing it into whatever software, no? Another term for visual effects is artificial imagery, no? Used to create false images and scenes on a screen that are not shot with a raw camera lens. Yun nga, yung CGI. Dito na yung siguro yung familiar na encounter nga natin, yung CGI natin, yung mga fake naman, yung gawa lang sa computer, tapos na-apply siya sa mga real-life footage natin. For example nga si Marvel. No? Now, si 3D animation, that can be a part of VFX. No? Kasi VFX, in a sense, kasi it is literally a sort of category na siya, all on its own. Hindi siya actual na process. It is literally I guess, a category. Yun nga, category na siya, no? So, large din, it's a broad topic din as well kasi marami siyang mga branches si VFX. Kasama na doon si 3D animation, no? Now, 3D design and animation plays a part in VFX when footage from the camera is imported to the software to map out the scene that is in need of CGI. Yun na nga yung sinasabi ko. Dito na pumapasok ulit si CGI, no? So, yun na yung overall process nun. So, when they're shooting a scene, like for example, dito sa, anong ba tawag dito? Yung Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. So, hindi lang natin alam, some of you might not know, but yung costume ni Black Bolt, it's not actually practical. It's all CGI. Parang yung same case kay Peter Parker, no? With yung Iron Spider suit niya. Si Tom Holland, sinusuot niya yung ganitong suit, no? So this is basically a motion tracker suit that basically captures his movements. We've discussed this before, no? So it's a motion capture suit, captures the actor's movements, and then nadadala siya to whatever software na kung ano dadalhin, no? Tapos sa kung anong software yun, dun na dadalhin yung digitally created na suit niya, which is itong suit ni Black Bolt dito, no? Yung black suit niya. So it's basically just going to replace it, tapos ang keep lang talaga dito is yung muka ni Black Bolt, no? So yun. That is how VFX works in terms of sa mga AAA industry nga, no? Like for example nga Marvel. So yeah, there we go. So after VFX, there comes SFX and FX, no? Which is also another branch then ni VFX, no? So SFX, most popular term talaga ng SFX talaga is sound effects, no? But SFX has another term which is called special effects, no? In simpler terms, it is what we call practical effects. Yun yung mga explosions, yung mga fire sa mga set, no? So what do I mean by practical? It is yung nagagawa in real life, no? Meaning that these effects, when it comes to effects naman, when it comes to effects, no, the difference between SFX and FX, so si special effects, it's done practically. Pero si FX, siya yung virtually. Yun yung digitally. Yun yung ginakikita nga natin. Like example, sa mga game effects nga natin, di ba? So yan, yung mga parang sword slashes, yung mga basic na explosion na ganyan. If it's done digitally, it's called FX. No? So yan, virtually created SFX often involves simulations to recreate practical effects such as explosions, sparks, smoke, blood splatter, etc. and are called FX or tinatawag na natin na digital effects, no? So, kailan ba pwedeng gamitin yan siguro ang question nyo? Kailan dapat gamitin ang FX? Siguro, kung may budget yung crew nyo kasi number one, practical effects, they're very expensive, very pricey, no? And of course, kung indie na crew lang naman kayo, you're gonna have to find then a safe area to do said effects. So for example, explosions. You can't just buy explosives sa kung saan man, no? That will be illegal, no? So yan ang siguro pwede yung alternative by using effects. Okay? So, and lastly, 3ds Max can handle basic effects, but Blender can handle general effects similar to how Houdini makes now. So, actually, fairly similar si Blender and Houdini in terms of how we can do effects or yung digital effects nga natin, ano? It's similar but not overly similar talaga to the point ng kay Houdini sobrang complicated. Kay Blender, it's slightly less complicated. Yun yung tinatawag nga natin na mga physics properties, yung mga simulations, no? So, it's, like I said nga, no, it is similar, but compared to Houdini, it's much more simpler in terms of how you can make it, but a bit more complicated to improve upon. No? So, yung cases like, for example, itong explosion na to, yes, in a sense, it looks basic on paper, but when it comes to Houdini, yes, it's much more simpler. No? But when it comes to Blender, this one is going to be a bit more complicated and very, very taxing sa computer compared to Houdini. Kay Houdini, walang problema to. Pero kung kapag kay Blender, no, if you don't have a very powerful GPU, this is going to be very hard to create. Right? In a sense, this is literally just a smoke simulation. No? So multiple smoke simulations lang to and konting particle effects. Yes, it's basic on paper, but like I said, it's going to be very hard and very taxing for your computer. No? So knowing all of that, VFX and SFX should only support the story, not the other way around. No? A perfect example of the reverse of this specific statement, where VFX and SFX are basically the main point of the whole movie and not the story, is actually Bollywood, no? So, yung mga Bollywood, yung mga Thai movies, yung mga Indian movies, yung mga sobrang super exaggerated na mga CGI shots nila, yun yung specific trait talaga ni Bollywood na nagpasikat din sa kanila in a sort of bad way sa film industry, no? But in most cases, yung mga Hollywood style na movies, ito talaga yung pinangungunahan nila. VFX and SFX should only support the story, not the other way around. Mauuna palagi si story kasi story, kapag maganda yung story mo, backup na lang yan, walang kwenta na si VFX and SFX kasi as we all what we all want in a movie is a good story, a good plot. We're not just there for the VFX and SFX. We want something to entertain us. So VFX and SFX, they're just like they're just like supporting characters to the whole story. Another perfect example din ng na Hollywood standard din na movie na nangunguna na naman si VFX and SFX, yung mga gawa ni Michael Bay, yung mga Transformers, yung Transformers saga niya. Personally, I like it naman, but yeah, it's a bad way to basically showcase a movie, So because like I said, dapat mauna palagi yung story, not si VFX and SFX. Okay? So yeah, now this one
Hi
is
guys, so today I
literally
want to
just
talk about abbreviation.
so this one is literally just a clip on discussing what VFX, SFX, and FX and CGI is. So I'm just gonna leave that there for you to watch. And then of course, ito rin yung mga sasuggest ko na panoorin nyo rin. So basic breakdown ng mga VFX shots with Corridor Crew. So Corridor Crew is a YouTube channel na it's basically their second channel. Their main channel is called Corridor, where basically they create mga CGI shots, mga VFX shots. That's what they do. Now dito sa Corridor Crew channel nila, dito nila bine-breakdown on some of the videos na ginagawa nila. Minsan bine-breakdown nila yung mga shots nila. Dito rin ako halos nanood dito rin halos sa tuto ng basic VFX lang. So they're really entertaining din as well. So this is a highly suggested channel na panoorin nyo in your free time. So yeah, there we go. So I'll just skip this one. I just watch this on your own time. Now, lastly, we will not cover the creation of effects. Kasi like I said, pagkuha ng mga digital effects, that's very taxing on your computer. So skip natin yon. And number one din, hindi rin part talaga siya ng syllabus, But it can be discussed upon the request from your instructor, which is me. So, kung gusto niyo na i-request, sige, tuturuan ko kayo. But sadly, when it comes to effects, sa Blender lang ako magtuturo. Because like I said sa discussion natin prior, 3ds Max sure can handle basic effects, pero sobrang limited ng pwede niya magawa, Now, digital effects and digital effects simulator 3ds Max, again, di natin tuturuan yan. And like I said, Blender lang tayo. Okay? So, there we go. So, start na tayo with the core discussion, which is animation, So, keyframe animation, you already pretty much know this naman na from your 2D Ani. And like I said from the beginning, literally, it's almost the same as 2D animation lang, with just a few differences, It's like I said right here, 3D animation is really not all that different from 2D animation, other than the difficulty and design workflow. You still have the traditional keyframe animation where you work with keyframes to mark a transformation in your timeline. Only difference is, unlike sa Adobe Flash, or whatever na software yung ginagamit nyo, meron tayong ability to basically see kung ano yung previous layer natin or yung previous frame natin. Dito sa 3D, wala tayong ganon. So that's one more difficulty factor na maka-consider nyo when transitioning from 2D animation to 3D animation. Yung mga frame overlays na let's lagay dito. Okay? Yes, yun nga, we're no longer working in 2D, we're working in 3D space. Okay? So next, keyframing in 3D animation. It's literally just the same as 2D animation. So we are working with frames, mga keyframes. But unlike sa sa 2D animation where we literally have to work frame by frame to do some movement, si 3ds Max less taxing yung yung animation process niya, because literally you can just jump from, like for example, from 0 to frame 10, hindi nyo kailangan mag-work from frame to frame, just to get a smooth animation. The 3D your software basically handles that for you na, depending on what kind of animation you are doing. Now, ito rin, another key difference then between 2D animation and 3D animation, because like I said, sa 2D animation, we literally work from one keyframe to another. Now, sa 3D animation, we have two types of keyframing, So we have auto key and then set keyframing, So yung difference no between the two, number one, si auto key, as the name suggests, automatic siyang maglalagay ng keyframe kung saang frame siya nakalagay. If nagkaroon ng manipulation dun sa specific object na nakaselect ka, no? So any sort of movements, scales, rotation, or any sort of data changes from your modifiers, textures, lights, any sort, while auto key is on, maglalagay siya kagad ng keyframe, no? So that is auto key. Now next is set keyframing. Ito yung traditional na ano natin, na keyframing natin sa 2D animation, no? So we're basically you make one change to your object, no? And then click nyo yung set keyframe button or yung set keyframe na hotkey, and then it will add the keyframe for you. Okay? Now, do note that each object you apply animation to will have their own keyframe data. So we will have to select the object first to see the keyframes and transformations you have done in the timeline. Now, unlike some 2D animation softwares where basically we're presented already with the what do you call this, with the keyframes all throughout your scene. Dito sa 3D animation, hindi natin sila makikita kagad without selecting it. So we have to select them first just to show the keyframe data of that specific object. So dito rin napupunta yung pagiging tedious part ni 3D animation. Lalo na if you have multiple objects in your scene and you're working with multiple objects in terms of animation. No? So yan, ito yung mga key differences natin. Of course, ito yung timeline natin. It's literally called the same thing. So we have our timeline. So this is Blender. And this is for 3ds Max. No? Now, paano natin malalaman kapag may keyframe tayo? So of course, number one, select natin yung object. And then of course, next is, ito na, papakita na sa atin yung mga keyframes natin. So dito sa Blender, it's literally just one single icon. Pero sa 3ds Max, manonotice natin, meron tayong mga multicolored icons. So di-discuss natin din yan after. Okay? So next natin. Okay, so we're basically doing our we're basically doing our demo na when it comes to animation na. So let's before we start animating actually, so we have to do a bit of setup first, So of course, number one is we need to do a bit of setup when it comes to our frame rate. Kasi number one pinaka-important natin sa 3D animation is our frame rate. Now, sa frame rate natin, unahin ko sa 3ds Max. So to change our frame rate, ito yung timeline natin, no? So this is our timeline. We're just gonna select here on the almost lower right corner, no? So quarter of the way there. No? So there we go. Ito yung part natin dito. This is where we play with our timeline, no? So we have our play button, we have our next frame, and then go to end. And then of course, yung reverse natin. So to change our frame rate, dito, select lang natin to. This one with the clock icon na may gear, no? And then on hover, it says here time configuration. So select lang natin yan. Okay, and then there we go. This is where we change our frame rate. And then of course, where we change our number of frames sa ating scene. So as you can see here, nandito yung frame rate natin. Now yung by default natin dito is NTSC, which is a default of 30 frames per second. But let's, just to be safe, we're not gonna be working with the templates kasi mga template to. We're just gonna select here sa custom natin. So may enable tong FPS counter natin dito. Here, dito natin pwede ilagay yung specific number of frames na kailangan natin ilagay, no? Which is, again, pretty important, lalo na kapag dadalhin nyo na siya sa mga editing software nyo. You have to match your 3D animations frames to your, to whatever sequence ng ng video software nyo. So, kung 30 FPS, then syempre, 30 FPS din yung sa video editing software nyo. Okay? So, there we go. So, if you want 30 frames per second, type nyo lang 30, no? Now, the lowest possible amount na pwede nyo gawin to have a natural looking na animation is 24, no? So, pretty low din. Actually, it's pretty standard din naman sa 2D animation. This is basically your default animation na frame rate din naman sa 2D, no? 24. So, same case din sa sa 3ds Max. But unlike nga lang, si 24, that is the minimum. Like, actually, below minimum pa pala siya. Yung minimum na frame rate talaga na, yung average na frame rate natin is 30 FPS. Now, 30 FPS, ang ganda na ng mga ng animation yan. It's going to be pretty smooth naman na. So 30 FPS tayo. Okay? So next, yung start natin. Yung start time natin dito is yung frame natin. So we're basically starting at frame 0 here. And then, dito nakalagay yung natin, no? Yung end time natin. Yung kung hanggang anong frame yung animation natin. So we can just easily change this, no? So if you want to start at frame 1, type lang natin yung 1, and then lagay lang natin sa 0, because that's the default. And then of course, end time natin is 100, no? So dito sa animation na counter nyo dito, yung start time and end time nyo, take note of this, no? Itong frame count tsaka yung length natin. Now, end time and length natin, it's pretty much this. It's pretty much similar. Itong length, it's basically calculating yung ano natin, yung total na frames natin. And then itong frame count, it says here 101 because it's counting frame 0 as one frame pa rin, no? So that's basically 1 pa rin. So thus having our total frame count is 101. Now, dito pa lang, you're gonna have to calculate already how long your animation will be. So, like for example, you want it for 1 minute, no? So at 1 minute and then your frame rate is 30 seconds, you just calculate that, no? So 30 frames multiplied by 60, no? So that is basically what? 1,800, no? So that's 1,800 frames. So type in nyo lang dito 1,800 frames and then click lang natin yung enter or press nyo lang itong OK. Alright? So ayan, nakita nyo, dagdagan na yung frames ko dito. So that's about it, no? So reduce lang natin to. Reduce na lang natin to 100. Let's work with that for now, no? And then click lang natin OK to basically have it saved na. And then you're done with your frame rate, no? And then next, punta tayo sa Blender. How do we change our frame rate? Now, unlike kay 3ds Max, pretty simple siya, no? Hindi napakadaling mahanap siya. So, we've already encountered before dito tayo sa output properties, no? So, itong printer icon, click natin yun, and then here we go. So, ito yung mga selection natin dito. We can easily just select whatever frame we want, no? So, match lang natin to 30 FPS, no? And then kung gusto nyo custom, I mean, it's pretty much, everything is all here naman na. So, I don't think kailangan nyo na ng custom for this one. But if you want custom, it's just there, no? But we'll just stick with 30 FPS. And just like sa 3ds Max, we have to also calculate our frame range, no? So, frame start and then frame end, no? Now, itong step, hindi nyo kailangan yan. Ito lang yan. So, frame start and then frame end. You just type in whatever frame you want it to end on. So, yun, there we go. And of course, lastly is itong ano natin. Aside from here, you can easily just type it here then to easily extend your ano natin. Extend or decrease your frame range, no? So, there we go. You can easily start there. And then, pwede na natin lagi ito. Start tayo from frame 0, no? Just like sa 3ds Max. Okay? Next natin is setup natin. Actually, no. Ano ba yung next one? Forgot. Okay. Yung keyframing na tayo, no? Keyframing na tayo. So, let's start with the easiest one muna, no? So, I ended with Blender, so I'm gonna start with Blender naman. So, let's start with the easiest one, which is auto key, no? So, dito sa auto key, as the name suggests, like I said, no, automatic siya mag-generate ng keyframe if there's any sort of movement sa scene natin, no? So, let's say I want this ball to be animated papunta dito sa ano natin, no? Sa around 20 frames. So, I'm just gonna set it to 20 frames. I'm gonna move it somewhere around here, no? So, I'm just gonna move that. Walang nangyayari. Walang na-generate na keyframes. Bakit? Because we forgot to turn on auto key. So to do that, i-click lang natin to. Itong parang record button natin dito. It says here, auto keying on hover. So select lang natin yan. And back to here. Now, nandito tayo sa frame 20. And then let's try to move it naman na. Notice something? Ayun, no, nag-add na tayo ng keyframe. No? Pero ang problem, wala tayong anything nangyayari dito from 0 to 20. Bakit? Because we didn't have any starting frame. Wala tayong starting keyframe to indicate na, uy, si ball pala, si sphere nandito pala. No? So, we're basically taking yung data from the 20. No? So, before we actually animate or before we actually proceed to use auto key, of course, we need to add a keyframe first kung onto where that object will start animating. No? So, lagay lang tayo ng animate ng keyframe natin dito by pressing the hotkey. Ito, press lang natin I. Okay. Now, dito sa I natin, dito we have a lot of choices here. Now, etong mga choices natin dito, I'm going to may explain ko to later, no? So, select lang natin to, location, rotation, and scale because it'll be very important to later, no? So, select this one, location, rotation, and scale. And then, of course, ayan na, nagkaroon na tayo ng keyframe. No? And then, balik tayo sa frame 20. Let's move it here. So, Yan, nagkaroon na tayo ng 2 keyframes. And then, as you scroll down sa timeline ko, it's animating na. So, there we go. That is how auto key works, no? So, let's change it na naman. Balik tayo sa frame 20. Let's see what happens naman kung tinaas ko naman to. Let's see what happens. Iba na siya, no? So, ano na niya, nawala yung instance natin where we moved it, we just moved it here, no? Sa y-axis natin. Diretso na kagad siyang tumaas. Now, the question is, bakit? Because it overridden the previous keyframe data, no? So, that's what you want to be careful of while using auto key, no? It automatically overrides yung yung keyframe data natin if, like I said, if it detects any sort of manipulation dun sa object natin, whether it be location, rotation, or scale, no? So there we go. That is that is your auto key, no? It's pretty handy. Now si auto key, marami rin siyang functions, aside from this one. But I'll be teaching this when it comes to Blender, there's actually a more easier way to do it than just auto key, Kasi si auto key, na rin siya, medyo mababa na rin yung yung usefulness niya, compared to 3ds Max. 3ds Max dun talaga sobrang ganda ni auto key compared kay Blender. So let's talk about 3ds Max na. Okay? So dito sa 3ds Max, we're starting with auto key, So to set up auto key, of course, we have to turn it on, just like sa sa Blender. So as you can already pretty much see already here, nasa lower right din siya, Nasa lower right din siya, katabi lang siya ng time configuration natin. And then right here, select lang natin tong si auto key, So select na natin yan. And then manonotice nyo, nagkaroon tayo ng red accents dito sa ating UI, So that means kapag may nakita na kayong red accents, that means animation mode is on, So do take note of that, Do take note of this specific look sa UI nyo. If there's red on it, that means it's animation mode na. Okay? So let's try lang natin. So let's just move this. Let's start with what we did earlier, where we started at the frame 20 and then we move lang natin siya sa y-axis. So I'm just gonna move it here. I'm just gonna move it just the same as I did. Okay, so that's it, But here's the difference between auto key ng 3ds Max and sa Blender. Look what happens when I scroll down. You see the difference, So sa Blender, when it comes to auto key, nung nag-start tayo with frame 20 and then we move our sphere, hindi pa rin siya nag-move, But dito kay 3ds Max, it already adds a keyframe already for you, before you start the movement from where the previous frame is. So previous frame natin kanina is ito, 0 natin. And then ilagay natin siya dito sa 20th frame and then we moved it, So knowing that, binigyan na kagad tayo ng 3ds Max ng keyframes, And then there we go. Nagkaroon tayo ng keyframe natin dito. But may difference tayo, compared natin dito sa kanina, So notice nyo dito, set up sa 3ds Max, Notice nyo, magkaiba yung itsura ng keyframe, This is still the same software, So magkaiba yung itsura ng keyframe. Bakit? Kasi meron tayong color coding system dito kay 3ds Max, So kapag red yan, that means it's the keyframe data it houses is just the location data. So yung location data, it's yun yung yung paggamit natin ng move. So we just moved it either in the X or Y or Z axis. Next up naman natin is si green, So next natin si green. Ayun, si green is rotation, And then next natin is scale, Next natin is si scale. There we go. And then si scale is blue, So yun yung difference ng colors natin. Now there is one more color which I'll discuss later, So ayan, red is for location, green is for rotation, and then blue is for Blue is for scale, Now, this one is definitely going to be taking a lot of time for you to adapt, because like I see here, it's already starting from frame 0, it's already starting to scale down because nandito kasi yung starting frame natin, nag-scale down tayo dito. So it's already scaling down. So if you want to retain yung ano natin dito, yung scale natin dito, you can literally just set a key here and then you can have it start decreasing, like go to starting from frame 34. Let's start, we'll start I will actually starting from frame 20, we want it to start decreasing until here. No? So again, lalagay lang ulit ako ng isa pang key by pressing this one, ito set key. No? So we're already basically low-key discussing na rin yung how we add set key. No? So there we go. So starting from frame 0 hanggang frame 20, yan, no? So starting from frame 20, ayun, no? Notice nyo, nag-i-start na siya ng mag-decrease. No? Because naglagay tayo ng, because yung end keyframe natin where the scale is still stuck at frame 0 hanggang frame 20, ayun, nag-retain pa rin niya and then started scaling down from there. No? So there we go. So that is auto key and then pretty much na rin siya, no? Diretsong set key na rin tayo. No? Now, dito sa Blender, we've already discussed it actually, no? So yung set key natin is literally I lang, no? So that is our set key, no? Now, yung set key natin sa Blender, there's actually it's actually far more useful than auto key. Now, bakit? Let's for example, punta tayo dito sa object data properties, okay? So let's select natin tong cube natin and then, notice here, siguro napapansin niyo na rin to in some parameters na nakikita niyo, no? So for example, ito add tayo ng material tayo dito. Add lang tayo ng new. Okay. Manonotice nyo, meron kayong mga nakikita palagi sa parameters, may mga dot dito sa gilid. No? Now, notice nyo when on hover, it says here animate property. No? So this is basically one way, another way of using set key aside from the use of I. No? So, ang mangyayari, so punta tayo ng material preview. Let's showcase na rin on how to basically animate textures or basically any sort of lighting na may or basically any sort of data na may ganito sa gilid, no? So kapag may ganito sa gilid, that means it can be animated when it comes to Blender, no? So let's start with something simple, no? Start tayo dito sa frame 0. Our starting color, let's go for red, no? And then let's actually turn this off, you know? Kasi this won't work now with auto key, no? So pretty much this one, I would recommend what you do, no? So when it comes to auto key, I would suggest that siguro kapag yun nga, no, you're just gonna make simple manipulations or movements. But when it comes to specific data, like for example, textures or lighting, dito na, mag-set key na kayo, no? So starting frame natin, we want this one to be red. So we want to add a keyframe by simply selecting this, no? And then yun, nagkaroon na tayo ng keyframe. Now, and then at frame 20, let's say we want to change this one into blue, no? And then notice nyo, na iba na yung shape natin dito, nawala yung fill niya. So we just have to click this again to set another keyframe. And then there we go. Tingnan na natin kung ano maging itsura. There we go. Nagtatransition siya from red to blue, no? So yun, there we go. That's how simple it is, no? Now, same case lang rin if we want to override yung natin, no? If you want to override yung color natin. So let's say I changed my mind. I don't want this one to be red. I want this one to be yellow. No? So yun ang mangyayari dyan, no? But when I try to move it, hindi na override. It's still stuck with red. So what we need to do, first, of course, i-override na natin. No? So to override it, don't forget to click this one again, no? To basically override yung natin. Yung override yung keyframe natin. At first, mawawala yung keyframe because tinanggal kasi natin yung keyframe. So we just need to press it again. And then yan na. Na-override na natin yung color natin. So went from yellow to blue na. Oh, there we go. And then of course, si light, pwede na nating gamitin. No? There we go. See? Color. Ayan, pwede natin baguhin si light. Si power, you can easily change that whatever you want. So for example, gusto niyo maging magto-turn off si light, pwede niyo siguro at frame 20, pwede nyo gawing 0, and then lagay kayo ng keyframe. Siguro at frame 23, talakasan nyo siya, gawin nyo 1,000, no? Parang blinking effect. So yeah, there we go. Nagad tayo ng keyframe. No? So there we go. That is the usefulness of the set key kay Blender. No? Now kay 3ds Max, no? Ito yung complete opposite na. Si 3ds Max, much prefer talaga dito si auto key. No? Much prefer dito si auto key. Kasi yung set key ni 3ds Max, it's actually kind of garbage, no? Sobrang maraming data na ibibigay sa'yo na hindi nyo naman kailangan. Because by default, no? So let's set a key here, no? Set tayo ng in-between natin dito. And then, set key lang natin to. Press natin tong set key or yung shortcut is K, no? Notice, no? Kanina, when we just change yung ano natin by simply moving it with auto key, red lang yung pinakita natin kasi ginalaw lang naman natin yung location, di ba? But, as you can see here, tatlong color siya. Merong red, may green, and then may blue. No? So there's so much unnecessary data. No? So actually, let's give, I'm gonna give a more perfect example. Now, okay, to disable yung ano natin, animation mode natin, just select yung ano natin kung anong key yung pinindot nyo. Andito naman yung naka-highlight naman siya. So it says here, auto key, naka-red siya. Just click it again to move back. Okay? So I'm just gonna make another cube ulit. No? I'm just gonna make a cube again. And then I'm just gonna use set key naman for this one. Okay? So I'm just gonna use set key. Okay, now, itong set key na to, it's not actually the actual function itself yet, no? So ito yung pinaka-set key na photo natin, no? So let's set a key here, no? Wala tayong gagalawin dyan. Ang plano ko lang naman is i-move lang siya pa-forwards, no? So x-axis. So number one, lalagay ako ng set key, no? And again, plano ko lang naman galawin siya sa x-axis, pero nilagay niya dito, sinama pa niya yung rotation pati sa scale, no? So there's so much unnecessary data. Papakita ko sa inyo mamaya paano natin mag-review, no? So much unnecessary data. Then put tayo sa frame 10. Let's move it forward. Okay? And then press lang natin set key again. And then again, more useless data na hindi natin kailangan. Ang kailangan lang naman natin is yung ano natin, location data natin, no? So, and there we go. Now, that is set key. Now, medyo troublesome si set key. No? Preferably, if you want to animate in 3ds Max, definitely, yes, you can still use set keys, but preferably, talagang sobrang lakas ng auto key ni 3ds Max. No? So, let's do the same thing that we did sa Blender. Let's change the cube's color. No? So, I'm just gonna open my material editor. Add lang ako ng basic material to this one. Ano? So, okay. So, let's just add a physical material. Add lang ako ng basic na, no? I'm not going to do anything super fancy. Just palette change lang tayo. So, okay. Starting dito sa natin. So, let's stay dito sa, starting at frame 2, we want this one to change. We want the default na ano pala natin. We want the default color to be, let's say, sige, gawin natin. Red ulit, no? Red ulit tayo. So, let's go with that one. Okay. Now, notice something here, no? Now, like I said kanina, it's going to take yung previous na frame na pinanggalingan natin. Now, yung previous frame kasi natin, yung color niya is this one, no? So, this one, I'm okay with this one. Gusto may color change talaga dito, no? So, preferably, you might want to start dito sa, kung saan frame siya talaga mag-start, no? And then you can just delete it later on, yung keyframe data na yon. So, but I want to keep this one pa rin naman, no? So, it went from gray and to red. Now, remember, this is in auto key mode, no? And then, of course, as you see here, may iba na yung color palette natin, naging black. No? Now, itong black natin dito, now this symbolizes keyframe data for textures, for light changes, for, for ambient changes. No? So, yung mga general na parameters, no? Modifier animations. No? So, that's the color code for that, kapag black yun. Okay? So, again, punta naman tayo dito sa frame 11. And then palitan natin to, gawin din natin tong blue. Okay, there we go. So, there we go. We change our color, no? So that is it. Okay. Now, dito sa, like I said, dito sa Blender, basically anything that has a sort of na ganitong icon sa gilid, na may tuldok sa gilid, pwede natin siya ma-animate, including modifiers, no? Like I said. So let's add something here. So let me just press X. I'm gonna do basic na lang natin dito. Let's just add a ocean. No? So balik lang ako ng solid. So ito, ocean modifier to, no? Medyo clear itong ano ko. Teka lang. Use ko lang. Okay. So this is our ocean modifier. And then as you can see here, itong time natin dito, this is an example of modifier animation na, no? So, if I move my time here, gumagalaw siya, but it's not recording anything, no? Now, pwede natin try natin sa auto key, tingnan natin if it works, no? So, try natin i-move. Nothing changes, no? So, auto key talaga in Blender is kind of useless talaga unless it's for like basic movement lang naman. So, majority set key tayo. So, let's say, yung time natin din sa Ocean Modifier, let's set it at time 1, and then at frame 20, gumagalaw siya. Move natin siya to frame, let's say, frame, actually, no, patagalin natin to. Patagalin natin yan. Let's go to frame 100, and then let's set the key to, time to 10 seconds, and then, okay, then animate natin yan. There we go. And then, as you can see here, gumagalaw na siya, no? It's going to be playing. So, basta merong ganito sa modifiers natin, or like I said nga, like I've been saying, kapag may ganito sa gilid, that means it can be animated. Kapag may tuldok sa gilid, it can be animated, no? Now, dito sa 3ds Max, yes, pwede. Again, like I said, no, pwede na natin tong, pwede natin tong bigyan ng animations, no? So, let's say, dagdagan ko lang to ng width and height natin. Oops. Let me just turn it off. Like I said, no, tandaan nyo. Dito naman, ang indicator naman natin, kapag may ibig sabihin, may animation yung part natin dito. Ito, magiging indication ng may ganito siyang, again, may red accent siya. No? So that will be your indicator na, uy, may animation pala dito. So I need to take note of that. Okay? So dinagdagan ko lang siya ng, ng subdivisions, no? Our segments. So let's say, starting from here, no? So let's go to, add down na, let's go to auto key, because like I said, key important. Let's set our key here. Let's override that now. We're basically overriding that. And then, let's say at frame 20, I want this one to bend. No? So, add lang ng bend modifier. So, add lang ng bend modifier. And then, I'm just gonna bend it right here. And then, as you can see here, naka-auto key pa rin ako. So, it indicated, uy, meron palang tayo dito, may animation ako dito. So, okay, there we go. So, as you can see, there we go. It's animating already. Okay. So there we go. That is how you animate modifiers then. No? Now, dito sa 3ds Max, dito lang yung bad part sa 3ds Max. So, there's no clear indicator talaga, unlike sa 3ds Max, unlike sa Blender na we have these dots right here na pwedeng sabihin na, uy, pwede pala itong i-animate. Dito sa 3ds Max, wala tayong indicator. So literally, it's just going to be trial and error tayo dito with auto key. No? So there are going to be there's some modifiers here na hindi natin ma-animate. No? So you can just do a trial and error for this one. Or, just go to here, Blender. Joke lang, no? So there we go. That is your modifier animation. Next up is yung paggamit natin ng graph editor and ng dope sheet. Okay? Now, dito sa dito sa ating 3ds Max, unahin na natin to. Si graph editor and si dope sheet, they are actually pretty important when it comes to animation. Now, unahin natin si graph editor. Now, si graph editor, or in some softwares, yung tawag talaga natin dito is si curve editor. Allows you to graphically alter the speed of the changes / transformation in your animation. So, let me do a very basic example here. Let's do a jumping ball. So, I'm just gonna delete everything. Actually, delete ko lang yung mga keyframes na to. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna delete that, and then let's go delete. Okay, and then this one, babalik ko siya sa 0 axis, and then yung rotation, rotation niya, balik ko rin sa 0. Okay, so let's use this one as our subject. I want this one to jump. No, so starting from 0, sa frame 0, I'm just gonna put auto key on, and then I want this one at frame 20 to have it jump. No, so pretty slow jump siya. No? So let's just play that. Okay, so actually, yung pwede siya. Okay, 20 frames, that's good enough now. No? Now, as you can see here, medyo unnatural yung natin. Parang notice nyo, from this basic jump already, medyo mabagal yung start natin compared dun sa how I would want it. I want this one to be extremely fast. No? I want this one to be extremely fast. So dito papasok ngayon si graph editor. No? So to open our graph editor, dito siya. Sa menu bar, select lang natin tong graph editors. And then select natin tong si curve editor. No? So select na natin yan. And then, okay, open sa other monitor ko. So it's gonna open this, this specific graph editor. Now, dito sa graph editor natin dito, like I said, we can alter the speed of our, what do you call it? Our frames, no? Yung speed in between frames, no? So basically, ang nangyayari dito, kaya like I said, notice natin, medyo mabagal siya before it actually starts, no? Because as you can see here, if you look closely, medyo mababa talaga yung start niya kasi pa-curve yung start niya and then mag-end siya na may konting airtime sa taas, no? To basically minimize yung speed while it's in the air, no? So what I want this one to be completely straight, no? So manonotice natin dito, if I select on these points right here, ito yung mga keyframes natin. So, I want to select this one and then I'm going to slightly, wait, not this one. This is a time. This one, select na natin to. And then, I'm just going to move this one, no? Oops. Okay. So, medyo complicated, medyo mahirap pa na yun. So, ay, tatanggalin ko lang tong mga natin dito. Okay. Wait, naka-adds naman to. So let me just lock lang natin to. We don't want that. Okay. So to move this, to move yung mga, wait, z-axis pala to, no? Wait, mali pala ako. Mali ako nang na-lock. Okay. So let me just unlock this. Okay. So ano movement to? Z-axis yung movement niya. So ito yung ilalock ko muna para hindi ko magalaw. Okay. So itong Z position natin na yan. Okay. There we go. So, as you can see here, ito meron tayong parang Bezier curve natin dito, which we can literally move, no? Manonotice nyo yan. So, yan, manonotice nyo. So, yun yung only way to move it, no? So, we're just basically moving it. And then, I want this one, I want this one to be straight up, dire-diretso siya. So, pwede kong i-align siya to basically match it to be super straight, no? So, yan. And then, preview natin kung ano yung itsura na ngayon. Ayan, no? Much more linear na yung itsura niya. Ayan, parang compare natin kanina na medyo mabagal ang startup niya papataas. So this one, tuloy-tuloy na siya. No? So, there we go. That is the overall thing. No? So that's the overall use. Now, aside from manually adjusting then, we have what we call interpolations, no? Or basically mga template ng kung ano itsura na pwede natin gawin. So, we have here dito sa top right natin dito, ito yung mga interpolations natin dito. Now, marami tayo dito selection, but really, the only ones you really need here is itong si step or si constant, itong si linear, which is ito, literally, this is what we want. No? So, I'm just going to select this one. I'm just going to select everything, and then manonotice yun pag naka-highlight, and then select ko lang to. Ayun, dire-diretso na siya. Mas malinis na yung line ko, yung curve ko dito. So, ayun, no? Notice nyo? There we go. That is the interpolation mode. And then we can also set it to smooth kung gusto nyo. Now, this one kapag marami na yung keyframes ko. But yeah, this one is where you get to play around with the curve editor. Marami kayong pwedeng magawa dito. Most of the time, on my personal opinion, guys, rarely nyo magagamit tong si mga interpolations natin except ditong si linear. Kasi si linear, this is actually where looping comes into play. No? Most of the time, linear ang interpolation niya when it comes to matching things, no, with frame 1 and then sa last frame natin. So starting frame and 2 and then last frame, most of the time, yung point natin dito, ito kasi ito yung start frame natin and then let's say ito yung end frame natin. So usually, you're definitely going to want to match kung ano yung interpolation ng frame 1 mo to the next frame and then frame end from the previous frame. No? So kung linear to, and then i-linear mo rin yung end frame mo. No? So that actually depends. No? Medyo complicated din gumawa ng loop animation, which I'll be demoing supposedly dapat next meeting na to. If like sa case with this one, this recording was made na dahil I was absent, no, I wasn't able to help the discussion where I would really demo how to do a loop animation. But for in this case, which is BMA1 MM3DANI, I'm gonna be doing this next meeting. No? So if you're not from that class now, or if you're from the future, yeah, just don't mind this little segue here. No, so I'll be demoing them to you. Don't worry. No. So, okay. So there we go. That is your interpolation. Okay? So that is curve editor. Okay? Next natin, dito sa ating Blender. Sige, dito mabilis, segue na to, mabilis showcase, no? Mabilis na showcase with animating ano tawag dito? Animating a loop, looping animation. So let me just play around with this one first, actually. Wait, I want to start here. Okay, para mas comfortable na ako dito sa amin. And then I want it to end at frame 100. Actually, let me delete this. I want a smaller plane. So add lang modifier. This is just a quick lang, quick lang. Okay. And then, oops, where am I? No, wala pa. Now I'm just gonna do a simple thing now to before I showcase your graph editor. So select delete lang natin yan. And then I guess, well, this is already a segue na rin to halos to how to do a looping animation sa natin, no? So with using ocean modifier, no? So there we go. It is already how to animate. Let me just play around with this. Okay, and then frame 100. I want this one to be at 5 frames. And then scale ko dito, I want it to be 2. Okay, so all right, and then back dito sa end frame ko dito, I'm going to add a duplicate, going to put on this place. Okay, and then same time, wait, it is 5. Okay, so this one is going to be 5. And then this one is going to be, for the wave, is going to be 2. And then it's the end frame. Let's set it to 0. Okay. And then for the time, I want to double this. Okay. Oops, I forgot something. I forgot to add a keyframe here. Okay. So I think in theory, this should sort of loop now. Okay. So there we go. It's sort of looping now. So we just need to basically change the curve editor na lang natin dito, no? Because as you can see here, no, kasi nag-end siya sa frame 0, so I want this one to stop at some point, no? So next natin gagawin is we're gonna go open our curve editor, no? So I'm just gonna extend this here, and then I'm going to right-click dito sa gilid natin in between, basically how we add the other viewports, no? So I'm just gonna do a vertical split, right-click, vertical split, and then I'm just going to change my editor type to curve editor or itong graph editor natin. It's right here. Under animation, it says here graph editor. Select na natin yan. And then there we go. There is our thing. No? Now dito sa natin dito, much more manual tayo sa pag-adjust ng mga natin ng tawag natin dito, yung mga points natin dito. It's much more complicated. Ayan, no? Much more complicated yung pag-adjust natin dito. Where this one, sa natin kasi dito, compare natin dito kay 3ds Max, madali natin ma-select. Now dito very careful talaga tayo. Sometimes we have to minimize, we have to hide things, no? We have to hide things so we just can't natin hindi siya magagalaw, or we can easily lock it. No? So ayan, pwede natin ma-lock yan. But we don't really need this one because I'm going to be using a interpolation mode for this one. I'm not going to be manually adjusting this, no? So I've already showcased it to you how to adjust things, no? Oops, medyo siya, problematic din. So, oops. Okay. Okay, there we go. Kaya pala kasi naka-snap ako. Teka. Okay, there we go. So, yan. So there we go. That's how we adjust things, no? But like I said, we want this one to be a specific interpolation. I want this one to be linear, no? So I'm just going to press A to select everything. And then I'm going to press P to open my keyframe interpolation mode. And as you can see here, marami rin tayong mga templates for this one, no? So For this one, like I said, I want this one to loop, so I'm gonna set it to linear. So let's view it. Tingnan natin kung naglo-loop na siya. There we go. It's looping. It's perfectly looping, no? There's no seams sa keyframe natin. So there we go. It's perfectly looping, no? Medyo konting adjustment lang ako dito sa time natin. I think I can make it better, no? Kasi medyo drastic din yung change bigla. Ayun, no? So there we go. So there we go. There's looping, no? Now, if we wanted to return to normal dito sa part natin dito, oops, nawala siya. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do, baka nawala siya, okay. So I'm just gonna select everything again. I'm gonna press T. Yung default niyan is itong Bezier. No? So select lang natin yan, bumalik siya sa dati. No, it's going to be adding the same Bezier curves na like dun saan natin sa previous maps. There we go. That is our curve editor. Okay? So next natin with curve editor, we're gonna be using our dope sheet. So this one, sa dope sheet natin, we're gonna be doing a tawag dito. We're gonna be doing our we're basically trying to open up our keyframes, no, our keyframe data. So we're gonna do here is open up this one dito sa Blender. Now sa Blender, actually, kita natin yung ano natin already dito. Nandito na kagad yung dope sheet natin dito, no. So yung dope sheet natin is literally this one na, no. Ito na yun. Ito na rin yung timeline natin because if you click here, ito may arrow tayo dito, no. Kapag dito na maximize, you're gonna already see it here. This is here under summary. There is. Ito na lahat ng keyframe data natin ngayon, no? So literally that's the only function of the dope sheet, no? So other than this pala, yung function of the dope sheet is yun nga, to reduce yung mga items natin dito sa scene natin. So there we go, nandito lahat yun, no? So manonotice nyo naman if I do a movement sa natin, sa let's say sa auto key ko, I'm gonna move it to somewhere here, I'm gonna move it there. Ayun, notice nyo, meron dito siya object transform, there we go, no? Pero problem natin dito, ayun, ang dami niyang binigay agad. Minove ko lang naman sa x-axis. So we can easily just remove all of this. Yeah? So you can easily remove that. Yeah. Pero nga lang sa atin, see, X location. Because like I said, hindi naman natin kailangan yun. So we're basically just reducing our data. You know? So that's literally it for dope sheet. Now, manonotice nyo rin dito sa editor type natin, meron din tayong dope sheet, no? But it's literally just the same as the timeline. Medyo medyo weird lang, no? But yeah, it's literally you can just stick with the original timeline, no? So dito naman sa ating 3ds Max, I'm just gonna close this one. I'm gonna open my, again, dito sa graph editors, select natin tong dope sheet naman, okay? So this basically opens up this thing, no? Now this one we have here. Now, like I said, no, let's say add tayo ng keyframe dito. I'm just gonna add a keyframe right here, okay? Para nagkaroon tayo ng okay. So, okay. What I'm gonna do next is open up natin to. Transform natin and then of course, you know, dami nating things natin dito na unnecessary, no? Ang nangyayari lang naman natin dito is yung Z natin, di ba? So, we can literally, sadly nga lang medyo bad lang yung ano natin dito. We can't just delete yung ano natin dito sa dope sheet. We have to do it from here, no? So right-click tayo dun sa keyframe natin dito and then delete natin yung specific na keyframe natin dito. No? So we can easily delete yung all or we can just delete specific na natin na files natin dito. Okay, delete natin to position. Bakit hindi siya nag-ano? Medyo ano siya. But yeah, really, ito yung medyo hassle part natin dito. Like I said, hindi nyo naman halos magagamit to if you're like I said, you've been using auto key. But if you're gonna be using this, yeah, it's gonna be here. You can change it there. You can actually lock it na from here then, ano? You can lock it here. No? So again, click lang natin to and then lock. No? So yeah, it's a pretty tedious na function kay 3ds Max. But yun nga, sanayan lang naman yan, no? Compare natin kay Blender na hassle-free, no? You can easily delete stuff, no? But yeah, that is about it, no? That is our dope sheet, no? And yun nga, unlike kay Hanggang kay, tawag dito, kay Blender, actually, si Blender, yan, like I said, no, medyo hassle-free siya in terms of setting keys, but sa 3ds Max, maganda naman dito is auto key, no? Medyo nawala na, lost in thought na ako, no? Okay, so, last na natin is, tawag doon, saving our animation. Now, it's actually pretty simple, no? So to save our animation next is what I'm gonna do is, unlike yung sa normal na natin sa 3ds Max where we click on our render view and then we render it, dito natin gagamitin pa rin natin dito si render setup. Sadly, wala tayong choice talaga. So punta tayo kay render setup, and then dito kay render setup, by default, nandito tayo nakalagay sa single, no? So we're basically using our single frame, no? But this time, gagamitin natin tong active time segment, no? So itong active time segment or itong range natin, no? So preferably, maganda to, range, stick kayo with range, no? So sa range natin, we can basically indicate kung saan tayo mag-start mag-render and then until what frame tayo mag-stop mag-render. So we are basically, what's happening here, you can render in batches. Like for example, for today, you want to render frames 0 to 20, and then the next day, frames 21 to 40, no? And then so on and so forth, no? Kasi definitely for you guys, matagal-tagal lang pag-render nyo, no? So, be careful na lang, no? So, for example naman dito, I really have 20 frames here, so I'm just gonna do that. Frame 20 lang naman. Actually, I forgot to do something, no? So, let's stick to 40 frames natin dito, okay? And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate keyframes because that's also an option, no? You can duplicate keyframes. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm just going to shift and drag this one to my 40th frame, no? So basically what happens here, pababa na siya, no? So it's basically, I want this one to loop already, no? So yeah, literally shift and then drag lang sa 3ds Max. Now dito naman kay Blender, it's going to be Shift D, no? So basically same thing as duplicating. So of course, select nyo muna yung keyframe nyo and then Shift D, and then you can just drag it out. No? So there we go. That is how you duplicate keyframes. No? So okay, so back on track. Setting up your render. No? So dito sa range, I only wanted to render until 40 frames, so I'm just gonna select that. And then of course, output size is pretty important. I'm just gonna do a very low quality, 640 to 480 para mabilis yung render. And then I'm good. No? So what I'm gonna do next is, ito, pretty important din. So you're gonna have to click on this one save file because we want to save it on a folder, no? Kasi what we're gonna doing, we're not gonna be rendering this as a video, we're gonna be rendering this as a PNG sequence, no? Kasi yun yung pinaka-efficient way of saving your animations. So I'm just gonna be saving it somewhere. Actually, baka ako dito lang daw. Baka na lang dito. And then let's say, yeah. And then, select ko lang tong format. And then, I'm gonna type, I'm gonna find, where is it? Now, ito rin pinaka-important, JPEG or PNG. So, it's literally the same case lang rin naman as how we do our normal renders, no? Kapag may HDRI ka, save it as JPEG kung gusto mong mag-retain yung HDRI mo, yung background mo. But, kung ayaw mo na yung HDRI mo, if you want just a transparent background, click on PNG. Now, I'm just going to do JPEG. So I'm just going to click on that. And then let's just name it test 3ds. Okay, so I'm just going to save it there. No, so I'm pretty much good now. No, and then let's still stick OK. No, and then you're good to render now. Of course, let's not forget to add our camera. No? So of course, maganda may camera tayo. So let's just do that. Kita na ba siya lahat? Hindi pa kita lahat. I'm just gonna adjust pa natin. Okay. Okay, so this will be my render, no? And then balik ako dito sa render setup, and then I hit on render. So it's going to save it, then it's going to do multiple renders. So okay lang rin na mas kayo ng isang frame, no? Just making sure na it's okay. So na lumagpas kayo ng by one. Kasi you can easily delete that naman. You can easily delete that if so I'm going to be rendering na sa Blender, rendering and saving, and then I'm going to set up something lang talaga dito. Because like I said from previous meetings, no, this is something na talagang very bad to 3ds Max. So you're going to be rendering with this one, lalo na pag animation na, don't do anything, huwag kayo magpindot. Okay, so there we go. Our render is finished, our 40 frames are finished. We can view it naman na. No? So So new folder. There we go. There is our frames, no? So you can literally just bring this one ating sa ating video editing software, or I'm going to be uploading then as well how you can upload use this image sequence and then bring it to Blender and then basically convert it into a video format for you if you don't have any video editing software. So I'm gonna be posting that later as well. Okay. So I'm gonna be linking it at the end of this video. Okay. So next natin is dito sa Blender. So sa Blender, you can easily, I'm not gonna render this anymore, I'm just gonna show you how to render it. We've already pretty much have it good already now. So this is basically it. Babalik lang tayo dito sa ating output properties. And then frame range, of course, you just have to indicate where it's going to start, where it's going to end. No? So after that, you're going to go here onto output. Now, by default, it's going to go to your temp folder, to whatever is located, whether in your local disk C or D. So I'm just going to save it here against the desktop. So I'm going to create another folder. I'm just going to create another folder. Okay, we'll accept that and then accept. Okay. So next is same case then, no? Same case lang rin. Whether it be a PNG or a JPEG. Of course, your choice, of course, you need a camera first. No? So let's add a camera. Actually, I can just do this. Okay, so there we go. There is our camera. And then what we're going to do is we can pick on whether it's going to be a PNG or a JPEG. Now, unlike 3ds Max, yes, you can actually render it as a video. You can see the formats there. Meron tayong API. Same case with Blender. Now you can already automatically save it as a video format. So you can choose whether it's an AVI or an MP4. But like I said, guys, you're definitely gonna want to render with a PNG sequence. So it's either PNG or JPEG. So I'm just gonna save it JPEG, and then you're pretty much good. No. Now the only difference here, our normal shortcut for render is F12. No. So our shortcut for animation is Control F12, no? Or you can just go here to render and then click on render animation. And then I'm going to, should I even render this? Okay, so of course, don't forget then your whatever settings you have here sa render sender nyo, kapag cycles, GPU compute. Now, ito rin pinaka-important, if you're just going to be test rendering out your animation, guys, like I said, no, stick muna kayo sa low quality. No, so and then of course babaan niyo yung samples nyo, and then for your output properties, of course, change it to something with a lower resolution. Okay, and then once you're done, you can just click on this one, and then it's gonna render it out for you. Okay, so that is basically it. That is our recording for module 9. We'll be continuing our discussion on module 10 next meeting, or if I'm not gonna be available, I'm gonna be doing another recording of that. So our next discussion will be on basic rigging and basic constraints. Now, for my PowerPoint available on Big Sky and Facebook group, it's still a bit outdated, but I'm going to be updating that soon. Okay. So next meeting, like I said, we're going to be discussing rigging, and then we're going to be building up on how we make machines move. Now, speaking of our activity 8. So activity 8 is actually pretty fun for you guys. Your activity 8 is using the knowledge you have learned in the keyframe animation, create a looping animation with an FPS count of 24 or 30. Preferably, guys, it's going to be 30, no? So it is entirely up to you what type of looping animation, guys. Now, like what we've discussed earlier, what we want for a looping animation, our frame start. So from our frame start and then to the next frame, you want it to be a linear path. And then for the end frame and to the previous frame before the end frame, you also want it to be linear path. So it's going to match. No? So that's the trick with looping animations. And then of course, aside from that as well, which I'm also going to be discussing here. Because like I said, it is entirely up to you what type of looping animation you want to make. You can make it unique or simple like a bouncing ball. It is entirely up to you. I'll be grading though how well you created your animation based on the concept. So like, for example, you did create a bouncing ball. If it's literally just a bouncing ball, you have no materials, you have no anything here, no anything unique, it's definitely going to result in a low score. But if you somehow make it unique, even for a bouncing ball, then that's good. I'm going to be grading it based on that, what concept you try to make your animation. Now, of course, lastly, as for the camera, you want it to be stationary. So no camera movements, okay? No camera movements. It's going to be forced perspective. No camera movements, no basic rotations, no dolly shots, no zoom shots, okay? So just pick one specific angle and then animate it from there, okay? Animate using that angle, okay? Next is render your animation to the resolution of your choice, no? So do note, the higher the resolution that you have, the longer the render time. So yan, ganun lang naman yun. So it's simply ganun din sa reverse. If it's lower resolution, shorter render time, no? But yun nga, medyo baba sa quality. Okay? And then you're gonna upload your animation with the title MM3DANI dash looping animation on YouTube and submit a thumbnail render of your animation in Big Sky with the file name. No, add the link in the comments before submission. So what you're gonna submit in Big Sky is you're just literally gonna do a thumbnail render. So you're just gonna render one specific angle dun sa ano nyo, dun sa animation nyo, and then send that as a image format. No, and then of course in the comments you're gonna add the link of your animation. No, entitled 3D Ani dash looping animation. And then of course indicate your name on your description. No, indicate your name and your section. So there we go. And then of course for the Big Sky surname underscore F82. Okay, so TLDR, this is the checklist. So 24 FPS or 30, no camera movements, animation must loop, must upload to YouTube with the title as stated here, and then upload thumbnail render. Okay, guys. Now, ito, pretty important na lang, guys. Please, 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 don't follow tutorials on mga looping animations, guys. No? There's a lot on YouTube. There's a lot on YouTube, lalong-lalo na sa Blender. Guys, please don't fully follow along with them. No, I want your activity to be your own unique take. No, sure, okay lang naman i-follow nyo, but please, guys, put your own unique take on it. Put your own twist in their whatever tutorial na pa-follow nyo or whatever. But please, guys, para recommend ko, don't follow your tutorials kasi hindi kayo matututo nun. Hindi kayo matututo nun without actually getting down and dirty sa animation. No? Okay? So that is pretty much it for this discussion. Okay? Now, actually, no, sa Discord ko na lang. Okay? So never mind. So this will be the end of the discussion. Okay? So see you next meet. Okay? So, dito sa 3ds Max, we can alter our frame rate dito sa ating timeline, no? Specifically, below the timeline, no? So, we have may mga options tayo dito sa lower right natin dito, no? Manonotice natin dito sa ating 3ds Max, meron tayong clock na ano tayo dito, clock na icon na may gear, no? And then on hover, it says time configuration. So, select lang natin yan, and then mag-open tong time configuration na window natin dito. Now, by default, naka-always set siya sa NTSC. Ano? So, that's default 30 FPS yon. Pero syempre, we don't want that. No? Let's say, gusto natin 24. No? So, let's say, we want 24. We're just going to select custom and then lagay lang natin 24 frames per second. No? So, ganun lang yon. That's how easy it is. No? And then, calculate nyo na lang talaga. Ika-calculate nyo na lang kung gaano katagal yung ano natin, yung magiging timeline nyo. So, I think you already know FPS, what FPS means. So, frames per second. No? So, kapag yung value natin sa FPS is 30, that means it's going to take 30 frames for 1 second of animation lang yun. No? So, let's say we want 15 seconds of animation. No? And then we have a value of 30 for our FPS. So, do the math, no? Do the math na lang. So, 30 times 15 for 50, no? So, yon. Dito sa ating animation natin, dito ko change yon to basically set our animation time, no? It says here dito sa length, no? So, doon natin ilalagay yung, ano natin, yung maximum amount of time na lalagay natin for our animation, no? So, pretty important, lalo na sa ano nyo, finals nyo, no? I-calculate nyo na kagad kung sa tingin nyo kung gaano katagal yung animation nyo. Okay? So, kung sa tingin nyo, maglalast siya ng 15 seconds and then you're going to run it at 30 FPS, then 40, no? 450 pala, no? Lagyan nyo to 450, then yun. So, you're good to go, no? So, dapat at the start pa lang alam nyo na kagad kung gaano katagal yung animation na gagawin nyo. Okay? Klaro tayo doon? So, dito, again, custom to change yung FPS natin. Usually, 30 FPS is the way to go para, much smoother siya, no? Compared na, pwede kang mag-go to 60 FPS, but trust me, guys, kayo lang mahihirapan kapag naglagay kayo to 60 FPS. Maximum that I would recommend talaga is 30 FPS lang kasi kayo lang mahihirapan sa pag-render, no? Kahit sabihin yung image sequence yung gagawin yung render, that's still a lot, no? That's 60 frames per second, no? So multiply that by 15. No, ang sakit nun sa render time nyo, kawawa naman yung computer nyo, no? So maximum, I would suggest 30 frames per seconds lang, ano? Then minimum 24, no? So yun. But again, usually 30 FPS, that's already good to go naman na, no? And then change lang natin yung length natin dito for our animation length, no? So, that's okay naman na for me. So, that's good na, no? So, yun, nakaset na siya to 0 to 100, no? So, there we go. That's how we change our frame rate and our length of animation sa ating 3ds Max. Now, paano naman sa Blender? Sa Blender, pupunta tayo dito sa ating output properties, ano? Ito, itong printer icon natin dito. So, select natin yung output properties and then you can already see it here, no? Frame rate natin. Meron na siyang mga set na value natin and we can actually go for custom kung gusto natin. But since nandito naman na yung two available na options natin, 24 and then 30, we can just set it to either of those, no? But like I said, kung gusto nyo may specific na custom FPS kayo, I mean, why? Tanong ko lang muna, why? So, yun. Punta nyo lang dito sa custom and then lagay nyo na yung FPS nyo, no? But usually, like I said, no, minimum 24 FPS, maximum natin 30 FPS, no? And then that's about it. Now, next naman, paano naman yung ano natin? Yung yung length of animation natin. There are two ways para natin i-change. Easiest one to do, dito rin, same lang rin natin na sa output properties, dito lang rin yun, same lang rin kasi while you're changing naman your frame rate, it's already here, no? And then we can just easily change this one. Itong end natin dito. Under siya ng frame range, and then we can actually change it to, like, say, 300. And then, manonotice nyo, dito sa timeline natin, it's already there, no? Na-change siya kagad. Now, yung second way natin is even far more easier, no? Like, let's say, kinulangan ako dito sa 300. Let's say I want to add 100 more frames, no? We can actually just easily change it here, no? Sa timeline natin. So, select nyo lang tong end frame natin dito. Itong end dito. Then let's say let's add another 100, gawin natin 400. And then boom. Ayan na. Nadagdagan ulit natin yung frames natin, and then now it's all set to 100 na. So that's easy, you know. So ganun lang yun. That's how easy it is, no? Compared natin dito sa 3ds Max na kailangan na tayo dito. Palagi nating dadagdagan pa dito sa length, no? Hassle ng pagpindot natin. Lagay natin dito, tapos type natin dito, change natin dito sa animation length, no? Hassle, no? Compared dito sa Blender, just simply select and then type it, no? Pakadali. Okay? So, klaro tayo doon on how we set our frame rate sa ating Blender and 3ds Max. If you're not following along, that's okay. You can easily read it naman dito. Andito naman na lahat yung natin. At ang instructions ko for this discussion, andito na lahat yan, no? And then of course, we have our recording for today, no? Now next, we have our keyframes. Yung pinaka main piece natin. Syempre, para tayo mag-animate without our keyframes, no? So like I said kanina, we have auto key and then we have our set key. Now the easiest one is set key, ano? Pero may mga konting downsides tayo sa set key. Sa auto key pala, no? So let's start muna dito sa 3ds Max. Ano? If you're following along, sure, gawin nyo na yung natin dito. Gawin na natin yung activity 8 natin, which is simply just a bouncing ball, no? Activity 8 natin, bouncing ball lang yon. Bouncing ball animation, it's super easy, no? So yan, ito yung natin. This is our ball, no? Let's say gusto natin nakataas tong nakataas tong patatalunin natin pala tong ball natin dito, no? We're gonna make it jump, no? But first, since kasi dito sa ball ko dito sa 3ds Max, nasa center yung pivot natin. I think we already know what pivot is at this point naman na, no? Ito yung part natin dito, no? So, I want this one na, gusto ko itong bottom part ng ball ko dito, naka-lay flat siya dito sa natin. Nakapatong siya dito sa grid natin. So, paano natin gagawin yon? Sa 3ds Max, we can actually cover this naman na, no? Cover na natin to yung paggamit natin ng mga, pag-change natin ng pivot points, no? So, cover na natin. So, pag-change natin ng pivot points, no? Like I said kanina, I want my ball right here na nakapatong siya dito sa ating grid, no? So, I need this icon right here, itong pivot ko dito, to be here dito sa bottom, ano? So, paano natin gagawin yon? For 3ds Max, it's super simple. So, I'm going to set this one sa hierarchy muna. So, select ko muna yung object and then punta ako sa hierarchy. This third option right here, no? So, select ko yan, hierarchy. And then I'm going to select Effect Pivot Only. And then manonotice nyo, once I select this one, nagbago tong indicator natin, yung pivot indicator natin. So, manonotice nyo, once I try to move this one, hindi na gumagalaw yung object ko. Gumagalaw lang yung, yung pivot ko. So that means it's working correctly, ano? So what I want, like I said kanina, gusto ko ipatong siya dito ilagay itong pivot ko dito para madali ko siyang mapatong dito sa grid ko, no? So this one, I'm going to put it right here, no? Pero syempre, I want it to be perfectly right there, no? So I can just easily toggle snap natin. So S, and then lagay ko lang dito. Then yun, snap na siya. So that's good na. And then I can turn it off again. And then once I'm done setting my pivot, select ko lang ulit to turn it off. And then, notice nyo, dito siya kumukuha, no? And then manonotice nyo kanina, yung Z ko dito, naka-zero out siya kanina, no? If you notice kanina, no? So, ulitin ko, ayan. Nandito siya sa somewhere sa zero axis natin, no? So, notice nyo yan. When it comes to move, X, Y, Z, 0, 0, 0. But, when I move my pivot, and then, like I said, no? Ilagay ko siya dito. Nakalagay na ba? Okay, nakalagay na. And then, turn it off. Manonotice nyo, yung value ng Z axis ko, na bago, from 0 to negative 18.395. Now, bakit? So, itong XYZ na mga natin dito, na locations natin dito, kinukuha niya yung data nito, yung location nito from the pivot, no? So, yung makikita natin na na data natin dito, yung mga values natin dito is the location of not the object but actually the pivot, no? Yung pivot natin. So, yun yung kinukuha ng ating XYZ. So, tingnan natin kung ano mangyayari kapag zinero out ko to. No? Since alam kong nakapatong na yung ko dito, nakapatong na to dito, And then once I zero it out, and then yun na, nakapatong na siya dun sa grid ko, no? So perfectly flat na siya because itong grid ko dito, value niya is 0, no? So it's completely on top of it na, no? Kasi zinero out ko to, and then once I zeroed it out, kinuha na yung value ng z-axis ko, ng grid ko dito, which is the value of 0, dito niya nilagay, no? So yun. Good na yung ano natin, yung ball natin, no? Now, paano naman sa Blender? Paano natin i-change yung pivot natin, no? So gamitin natin. Let's do it again with the UV sphere naman, no? So, ganun din. Same case lang rin natin dito, no? Ang tawag lang natin sa Blender, instead na pivot point, ang tawag natin dyan is origin, no? So, yung origin natin is this little orange dot right here, no? Mananotice nyo yan sa ano nyo, mga objects nyo, no? Once you select it, may makikita kayong orange dot. That's our origin, no? Or our pivot point, no? Now, sa Blender, sadly, wala tayong ganitong kasing effortless na na function to change our pivot only. Mano-mano natin gagawin yan, So, paano natin gagawin 'yon? Paano natin i-change yung pivot point dito sa ating Blender? We're actually going to make use of our cursor, no? So, select natin cursor. Ito mo notice niyo, no? So, once I click everywhere, ito nandito siya, no? Ito yung cursor natin, no? So, that's our cursor. Now, ang mangyayari dito, we're basically going to snap it sa ating dito sa ilalim ko dito, no? Because like I said, gusto ko nakapatong siya dito sa aking grid, no? So papatong i-snap ko siya dito, no? Pero ang hirap nating gawin, Ang hirap gawin. Paano ko i-snap 'yan? So ang gagawin natin, we're going to turn on our snap toggle, no? Itong snap natin ito. Itong pinakataas na to that has the magnet icon, no? So select lang natin 'yan until mag-highlight siya. Now, before we do anything else, change din natin yung kung saan siya magi-snap, no? By default, nakalagay siya sa increment, no? We don't want that. We want vertex kasi we have a vertex right here, no? Doon natin siya i-connect. So, instead of increment, lagay lang natin siya to vertex. So, yun. Now, we can easily put it there, no? And then, notice nyo, it's right there naman na, no? Yan na. Nakakonect na siya dun sa ating, sa ating vertex point natin doon, no? So, again, paggamit lang natin ng cursor, simple lang. Simple click and drag lang natin yan or pindot lang natin. Pero in this case, since we are utilizing yung snap natin, yung snap toggle natin, click and drag tayo dyan to basically try and align it with the vertex, no? So, yun. Nalagay na natin yung cursor natin doon. Now, hindi pa tayo tapos. There's actually one more thing to do, no? So, after malagay na natin yung cursor to where we want to put our pivot point, we're just going to right-click and then punta tayo sa ating set origin. And then we're going to select origin to 3D cursor. Now, since it's already it's pretty self-explanatory naman na, origin to 3D cursor, no? So basically, yung i-set origin natin dito, and then once we select origin to 3D cursor, yung origin natin, mapupunta siya dun sa ating 3D cursor, no? So select natin yan. Watch carefully yung natin, yung 3D cursor, yung origin ko dito. So right-click, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. And then there we go. Nawala yung 3D origin, yung cursor yung origin natin dito. Dahil napunta na siya dito. There we go, no? So, let me turn this off. There we go. Napunta na dun yung origin natin. So, let's try to Let's try to zero out yung natin, yung z-axis ko dito. 0. Ayun. Doon na siya nakapatong. So, ganun lang. Ganun kasimple. No? Now, eto question. Paano naman natin mababalik sa dati? Paano ko naman mababalik itong origin ko dito sa middle? Like, let's say, nagbago isip ko. Paano ko babalik siya dito sa middle? So, gawin muna natin. Select lang natin itong yung object natin. So, balik tayo sa select natin. Select ulit natin yung object natin. And then simply, right-click tayo, set origin. Ulit tayo, set origin. And then origin to geometry naman. And then doon, nabalik na yung natin. Yung function kasi ng set origin and then origin to geometry, basically, ilalagay niya dun sa pinaka-center ng object natin, no? Yung sa selected object. So, doon niya ilalagay yon, no? So, yun, lagay natin doon. There we go. That's how easy. Now, paano naman sa 3ds Max? Simple lang rin. Now, let's say gusto ko ibalik siya dito sa center ko. So, balik tayo dito, select ko yung object, no? Select ko yung object, balik ako dito sa hierarchy, click ko tong affect pivot only, and then select ko lang tong center to object. Ganun. That's how easy it is, di ba? Dali lang. But since I don't want that, no, balik na lang natin yan. Kasi gagamitin ko pa yan, no? So, yun, center to object. So, once nalagay nyo lang center to object, you can easily exit out naman na affect pivot only. Now, isa ito siguro na hindi ko pa na-cover dito sa pivot points natin dito sa ating Blender, no? Because we want that same type of functionality dito sa ating Blender, no, na affect pivot only, and then we have the freedom to move it around to whatever place we want, no, yung pivot point natin. We want that sort of freedom. But like I said, wala tayong ganong type of freedom, no? But what we can do, we can actually still make use itong ating cursor, no? So, personally, ganito ginagawa ko. So, first, let's say itong cursor natin, kung somewhere siya around here, no? Naliligaw yung cursor natin. So, ang gagawin ko muna, ibabalik ko tong cursor ko dito sa world origin ko, no? So, gagawin ko, so, itong natin, nawawala tong cursor natin, gusto ko ibalik siya dito, ang gawin lang natin, press and hold, Shift S. Yan. So, isang press lang ng Shift S, and then, select natin tong cursor to world origin. Notice nyo, ayun, nabalik na siya doon, no? Now, paano natin, let's say, gusto kong ilipat naman dito, somewhere here. Nasa gitna pa rin, nasa loob ng natin, nasa loob yung origin natin, and then somewhere around here, no? Paano natin ililipat yung pivot natin doon? Now, it's actually pretty simple. Oops, mali ako. Oops. Balik ulit to. Okay. Okay, so, okay naman na muna yan. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, let's say, sabi ko dito ko ililipat, di ba? Namali ako ng lagay na siguro dito. Balik ko dito, ilalagay ko dito. What I'm actually going to do, select ko dito, balik ako sa selection, itong select box, select ko to, and then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to basically try to move yung natin dito. Ang gagawing reference natin dito, gagamitin natin yung cursor natin dito as like a makeshift pivot muna, no? Basically, doon natin marking siya to where we want to place our pivot, no? Like, let's say, gusto ko somewhere around dito, no? So, somewhere around here, no? So, yan. Okay ko dito yung pivot ko, no? So, yan. Let's say, okay na ako dyan, and then I want to set my pivot. It's super easy na ulit. So, select lang ulit natin itong object natin, right-click, and then set origin to 3D cursor. No? So, select lang natin yan. Then there we go. Notice nyo? Ayun. Napunta na dun yung pivot natin sa ating kung saan natin minarkahan ng 3D cursor. No? So, yun. There we go. That's how we change to other places, no? Sa origin natin. But, like I said, we don't want that. Balik ko muna to what I originally want dito sa ating So, balik ko lang ulit dito. Right-click, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay. 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 So, what we're going to do next, balik na ulit tayo dito sa ating discussion with auto-keying, nag-segue tayo bigla to hierarchies and pivot changing. But at least that's over and done with naman na. So, balik tayo dito. Auto-key and set key. No? So, auto-key sa 3ds Max is fairly simple lang rin. Actually, both are pretty simple. So, sa 3ds Max, we actually have two modes. No? We have yung normal na 3D design mode natin. And then we have our animation mode. No? Paano natin ma-access yon? Now, we can actually easily access that by selecting one of these two. No? So, we have your auto key, and then we have our set key. And then, manotice nyo, yan yung shortcut natin. But, who presses shortcuts anyway, no? Kasi halatang-halata naman dito. So, select lang natin tong auto key. And then, manonotice nyo, nagkaroon tayo ng mga red accents tayo dito sa ating scene, So that means, kapag nagkaroon tayo ng mga red accents dito, nagkaroon tayo ng mga red highlights, that means we're in animation mode na, no? Ayun, manonotice nyo. So, yung animation mode natin, we actually have two modes, no? Sa animation mode, we have yung auto key mode natin, and then we have our set key mode or yung traditional way of animating lang natin. So auto key, like the name suggests, automatic siya maglalagay ng keyframe, no? So right now, nakalagay tayo sa frame 0, no? So any change that we do, it doesn't really matter. So let's say yung sa frame 0 ko, gusto ko mag-start siya flat dito. Nandito lang siya sa ating andito lang siya sa ating grid, no? Nandun lang siya. And then I move it sometime dito sa frame 20. Gusto ko this one, I'm going to move it upwards, no? To make it look like it's bouncing. So yun, notice nyo already? Notice something? Ayun, may notice na kayo, no? Nagkaroon tayo ng keyframes, no? So once I play that, there we go. You've actually created your first animation if you're following along with me. So yun, actually created your first animation already, you know? So yun, we have our bouncing ball na. Well, not exactly bouncing, it literally just jumped and then it just stayed mid-air, no? So there we go. That's how auto key works. So mangyayari dito, the only downside with auto key here is you have to actually be very, very careful kung saan nakalagay yung frame mo. Kasi like for example, no? Like let's say this one around frame 6, like accidentally mong nagalaw. Let's say accidentally mong nagalaw, like very, very miniature lang na nagalaw nyo. Magiging abnormal na yung itsura niya. Naging abnormal na yung animation niya, no? So yun, no? Nagkakaroon tayo ng sort of curve tayo dito, no? Ayan, no? It looks weird, right? No? It doesn't look right, no? So yun ang sa mga downsides natin. Make sure that when you're using auto key, make sure you're always in the right frame, no? Madali naman ma-edit out yan eh. Like kasi dito, to basically, let's say, instead na dito sa frame 20, let's say masyado ako nababagalan. We can easily select lang yung natin dito. Select. Also make sure, no? Nakikita nyo na already, that once I click out sa object natin, nawala bigla yung keyframes natin. But the animation is still there. Because like I said kanina, natin dito, each object has their own keyframe data, no? They have their own animation sets, no? Animation data. So once I select dito sa sphere ko, yun, bumalik yung animation natin dito, yung mga keyframes ko dito, no? So, let's say, kanina sinasabi ko, let's say, nabagalan ako bigla dito sa dito sa 20 frames ko dito. Masyado ako nababagalan. Let's say, gusto ko lipat siya to frame 10. So, it's pretty simple. Select lang natin yung keyframe na gusto natin i-adjust. And then, manonotice nyo na yan. Magkaroon tayo ng left and right na na icon dito sa cursor natin. And then, ganoon lang. Lipat lang natin. So, yun. There we go. We've successfully readjusted our keyframe, no? Ayan. Balik ko lang siya muna dito sa 20 because di pa tayo tapos, no? Now, that's how auto key works dito sa ating 3ds Max. Paano naman sa Blender? Blender, it's just as easy din, So first, itong start frame natin dito, let's set it to what we have din sa 3ds Max, no? So I'm going to set it yung start niya to 0 para maximize natin yung buong timeline from 0 to 100. And then let's say, teka nga lang. Okay, ingay ng Discord. Okay, so balik tayo dito. So Blender, no? So Blender. So auto key, ganun din. It's pretty similar lang rin sa 3ds Max, no? Because it's literally just one button. But unlike 3ds Max, it only wala tayong kahit anong sort of animation mode. We can actually do animation at will, no? Kung kailan natin gusto. That's one of the benefits ni Blender, no? Hindi siya maaarte sa mga modes na ganyan. Ang auto key lang yung may separate mode talaga, no? Because what we have here dito sa ating timeline ulit, like tomorrow, let's say natin. Some of you guys baka mamaya walang timeline, wala kayong timeline. So, kunwari ganyan lang yung nyo, no? So, ang gagawin lang natin, we can actually just right click on dito somewhere around dito sa bottom and then lagay ako horizontal split. Lagay ako dyan. So, select ko yan. Nagkaroon akong dalawang viewport. I think this should already be pretty basic naman na cover naman to halos siguro. So, select natin to, yung editor type natin dito. Itong
top left natin, select natin yan, and then select natin timeline. So yan, balik tayo dyan. Back here, no? Nabalik na natin yung timeline natin. Now, paano yung auto key? So select natin tong object natin. Actually, we don't need to select anything, no? You don't need to select anything yet. So select lang natin tong ano natin, auto keying natin. Itong record, basically itong icon na to, it looks like a record button. So yun, select nyo lang. Pag naka-highlight yan, ibig sabihin, auto key is on, no? So again, be very careful with auto key because this is just the same lang rin naman as 3ds Max, no? It has the same function. So any transformation that you do, let's say it's a frame 0, wala akong ginagawa. And dito sa frame 20, again, gawin ko yung ginawa ko kanina, no? So, lagay ko lang siya doon. And there we go, no? Now, ngayon dito, ang problem lang natin dito sa ating 3ds Max, sa Blender, wala siyang nilagay na anything dito sa frame 0 natin. Now, that's one of the downsides ng auto key natin dito. Hindi siya agad naglalagay ng keyframe kung saan siya nagsimula, no? So, paano natin lalagyan muna ng keyframe, no? So, lalagyan muna natin ng normal na keyframe, tong frame 0 natin, to basically know na ito yung starting frame natin. So, this is where set key comes into play, no? So, turn off, we can actually turn this on muna natin, it doesn't really matter, no? So, select muna natin yung object natin na gusto natin lagyan ng keyframe, ano? So, frame 0, I want my keyframe here. Gusto ko yung frame dito. The ball is just there, no? It's just standing still. Wala siyang kahit anong transformation whatsoever. So, gagawin ko, select ko lang yung object ko, and then I press I, no? So, letter I, no? So, select natin, I. And then, yan, magkakaroon tayo ng mga konting selection. We have here the insert keyframe menu. Now, yung normal na keyframe natin, yung normal na set keyframe natin, kinukuha niya yung data ng location, rotation, and then yung scaling natin. Ano? Same siya sa 3ds Max. No? So, ganun ang gawin din natin. No? So, when it comes to set key, kailangan natin yung location, rotation, and then yung scale for Blender. No? So, select lang natin dito. Ito, nandito na siya, no? Para isang ano na siya, isang pindutan. So, location, rotation, and then scale. So, select natin yan. And then yun, nagkaroon na tayo ng starting keyframe tayo. And then, balik na ulit tayo dito sa frame 20. And then, move up na natin to. And then yun, nagkaroon na tayo ng auto key ulit. And then, ganun. We've created our first animation sa Blender, no? Now, sa 3ds Max, it's actually pretty simple. Ano. Sa 3ds Max, you can actually still add keyframes while in auto key mode. Now, paano natin gagawin yon? So, let's say dito around frame 5, I want this one to go right here. So, lagay ko dyan. Ang gagawin ko lang, actually, auto key since nagkaroon ng auto key pala, no? So, we can actually do that rin naman, no? We can do that rin naman. So, we can easily add a keyframe naman yun by pressing this one, ano? But since naka-auto key ako, yung ginawa ko na transformation dito, medyo naging irrelevant din because naglagay siya ng auto key, no? Because nagkaroon ng transformation doon. But let's say this one right here, gusto ko mag-stationary pa siya right here, no? I want it to stay in mid-air up to this point muna, no? So, gagawin ko, I'll just press this one, set key, or shortcut natin for that one is K, no? So, press lang natin K. Notice nyo, ayan, ano? Nagkaroon tayo ng keyframe dito. Now, ngayon ang question natin dito, bakit iba yung natin? Iba yung kulay ng keyframe ko dito sa other keyframes ko. Now, kasi dito sa normal na keyframes ko dito, itong 0 and 1020 natin dito, they just using yung location natin, which is the red one, no? So, yun yung red na color natin. Yun yung color code niya. The green stands for yung rotation natin, and then yung scale natin is for the blue one. So, yun. That's one thing that you should know about, no? So, let's say, like I said kanina, gusto ko mag-stationary pa siya ulit dito sa ano ko, no? Somewhere itong part na to, gagawin ko, lalagay ulit ako until from frame 5 to frame 10, no? So, malalagay ako ng parehong keyframe lang dito, no? Pero ang problem ko dito, paano ko i-adjust to dito? Hindi ko naman kayang matansya naman siya na same lang tong frame 5 dito sa frame 10, no? So, that's almost impossible to do. So what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to duplicate it, no? Now, to duplicate a keyframe, like sinabi ko kanina, no, gusto ko itong frame 5 ko until frame 10, stationary lang siya to this area right here, no? Stationary lang siya. Gusto ko stationary lang siya dyan. So gagawin ko, I'm going to duplicate it because sa auto key mode, if I try to do that, pwede ko na naman gawin yon, but it's going to look weird, no? So gusto ko same na lang talaga, same data lang siya. So I'm going to do, select ko yung keyframe na gusto kong i-duplicate, and then I'm going to hold shift, and then left mouse button, and then I'm going to drag it, no? So shift, left mouse button, then drag, and then yan. And then, like I said, lalagay ko siya sa frame 10. So lagay ko siya sa frame 10. Yun. There we go. So 0, 5 to 10, stationary lang siya, and then 20 balik siya to flying up, no? So yun. Now, paano naman dito sa Blender? It's pretty easy then, no? So like let's say, ganun din gawin ko dito, no? So like let's say, this one, I'll be setting a keyframe right here. So press ko lang I, and then location, rotation, and scale. And then what I'm going to do next, I'm going to duplicate this one, papunta dito sa 10th frame, no? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select all these keyframe right here until manonotice nyo naman kapag mas nakaselect yung gusto yung keyframe, eh. Kasi kapag wala kayo nakaselect na keyframe, ganyan lang siya. Just pure white lang siya, no? So, select ko lang yan. Kapag malalaman pag nakaselect siya, mag-highlight siya into orange. So what I'm going to do next, once I highlight it, I'm going to press Shift-D to duplicate. So, yan. Lalagay ko lang siya. Ida-drag ko lang siya to kung anong frame ko siya lalagay. So, sabi ko dito sa frame 10, yun. So, itong maganda kay Blender, no? Manonotice mo kagad kung ano yung stationary na kung ano yung mga stationary na data, no? Or yung mga stationary na keyframes natin, no? Because right here, no? Like I said kanina, gusto kong to 5 to 10 frames ko dito is a stationary. Then manonotice nyo, meron tayong orange bar dito. This basically highlights na this is a stationary moment of time sa timeline natin, no? Stationary moment siya. No? So, yon. There we go, no? And then we can easily delete that din naman kung ayaw natin. No? So, try naman natin delete. Select lang natin yung keyframe. Then press X to delete. Then delete keyframes. And there we go. Delete na yung keyframes natin. No? Nasa 3ds Max, same lang rin. So, select natin yung keyframes na ayaw natin. And then press delete. There we go. Tapos na. Malinis na ulit yung natin. Yung quote-unquote bouncing ball natin. So, yun. Okay? Klaro ba so far? Klaro ba so far sa auto key and set key natin? Dire-diretso ako, no? So, klaro ba so far? Everyone understood? Everyone understood so far? Guys? Everyone understood so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, sa Blender, there's actually one more way to animate it, pero hindi ko na i-cover yun. Hindi ko na i-cover. Because baka malito lang kayo lalo. Mas mahirapan lang muna kayo. Mahirapan kayo eh. I'll siguro, i-cover ko siya siguro dun sa Modifier Animation. Siguro. Doon ko siya i-cover. But for now, skip muna natin yon, no? Mamaya na natin discuss yun. Klaro ba lahat? Klaro lahat? No more questions? No questions sa auto key and set key? Wala. Pretty important to, guys. This is basically our course, no? 3D Anim. Okay? No questions? No questions. So, let's move on to mga modifier animation natin. Now, this one, I'm not entirely going to showcase it, no? I'm not going to entirely showcase it because marami tayong possibilities na pwedeng gawin dito sa sa ating modifier animation. So first, I'm going to basically demonstrate how you can animate animations. No? Like I said kanina, no? As long as it has value, yung mga parameters natin, as long as may mga numerical values siya, pwede siyang ma-animate. No? So, ang gagawin lang natin, so this one, gusto ko lagyan ng animation. Like, let's say, siguro twist. Lagay ako ng twist na modifier. So, dagdagan ko lang yung width segments ko ata. Maybe width segments. No, not that one. Height segments. Dagdagan ko itong height segments ko and then I'm going to add a twist modifier. No? So, select ko yung twist modifier ko yan. Now, currently, we can actually try to twist this naman na. No? So, yan. Nag-twist na siya. No? Nag-twist siya. But, I want to animate this starting from just a normal cube and then magti-twist siya from 0 to 20. Ano? So, lagay ko siya 0 to 20. So, when it comes to modifier animation, it only works. So far, guys, it only works sa auto key mode natin. So, most of the time, it's not going to work sa set key. I don't know why, but auto key definitely always works when it comes to animating modifiers. No? So, let's say, like I said, no, gusto kong from 0 to 20 magkakaroon siya ng twisting animation. No? So, balik tayo dito. Toggle ko tong auto key mode natin to go back to my auto key mode sa animation mode. And then, dito sa frame 0, compare that sa 3ds Max, sa Blender, di na natin kailangan lagyan ng keyframe natin, no? Kasi automatic naman siyang maglalagay ng agad. So, let's say dito sa frame 20, magto-twist siya. So, bigyan ko na ng value. Let's say that one. Okay na. So, let's say that's the value I want. And then, let's try to view it. Ayun. Notice nyo? And then, manonotice nyo, yung keyframe natin dito, now it's color black. No? Color black naman yung keyframe natin dito. Now, kapag color black yan, that means modifier yung ina-animate dito. No? So, yun. Now, itong mga modifier animations natin dito, this is not entirely very useful. Kasi in most cases, guys, itong mga modifier animations natin dito, they're used more on for yung mga simulations natin, yung mga cloth natin. Ano? So, it's not really that good. No? So, this is rarely used talaga itong mga modifier animations natin dito. No? But marami, like I said, marami tayong pwedeng magamit dyan. No? Like, try naman natin bend. No? Try natin bend. So, balik tayo 0 to 20. Then this one, I'm going to try to bend it. And then there we go. And then this one, balik naman ako sa 40. I'm going to go negative 65. And there we go. Meron tayong sort of weird animation dito, no? So, yun. Now, sa Blender. Wala tayong masyadong kahit anong any sort of animation na as unique as those, no? Yung mga modifiers as unique as those, no? So, lagay tayo ng cube, hanap tayo ng pwede nating ma-animate, no? And to basically showcase yung natin, yung modifier animation natin, and then yung alternate way ng paggamit natin ng animation, paglagay natin ng mga keyframes, no? So, hanap tayo ng modifier. Ano ba pwede natin gamitin? Let's pick, ano ba pwede? Bevel na lang. Try natin bevel. So, this one, so gusto ko from frame 0 to frame 20, gusto kong magiging mas ma-intense pa yung bevel ko dito. Now, paano ko gagawin yon? Now, manonotice nyo dito, actually in some parameters, may mga nanonotice kayo na may mga tuldok kayo dito na may mga dots na kayo makikita dito, no, sa tabi, sa right side. Now, these are actually, ayan, no, pag naka-highlight natin, animate property natin. We can actually add a keyframe if we want to, no? So, gagawin natin, it's simple lang, no? Simple lang. So, let's say, kaya sinabi ko kanina, gusto ko maging intense yung bevel ko dito. So, once okay na ako dyan, I'm just going to set itong animate property. Set key ako dyan. There we go. Nagkakaroon hindi siya nag-ano. Because hindi ko in-animate siya dito. Now, ito, important din to, no? Kasi wala akong kahit anong base property siya dito, no? Kasi wala akong nilagay na na base yung original na frame dito. So, you're gonna have to click on that, no? So, yan. Notice nyo. Yan. Now, by the, ulitin natin, mas malinis para mas malinis. So, this one, nakalagay natin, kanina nakalagay siya at 0.1, So, 0.1 natin yan pa rin. So, nakalagay siya dyan, 0.1. And then, frame 20, gagawin ko siyang, before actually that, like I said, lalagyan muna natin ng keyframe yan because hindi siya kagad tatanggapin ng auto key. So, lagyan natin ng keyframe, select lang natin to, animate property, and then punta ako sa frame 20, I'm going to adjust this to 0.55 kanina. And then there we go. Now, kasi since on yung auto keying ko, automatic na naglagay na siya ng keyframe. Pero kapag wala, kapag naka-turn off tong auto key ko, you're gonna have to click this one again. Ano? So, yeah, just take note of that, no? So, yan. Modifier animations, no? But again, like I said, guys, very, very rare nyo itong magagamit. Yung mga modifier animations dito, more on for like funsies lang to. Very impractical yung paggamit ng mga modifier animations ito because, like for example, itong cloth na natin dito, yung cloth modifier natin sa 3ds Max, there are much better ways to actually simulate cloth compared to this one by using yung ano nga natin, no? Digital effects natin, yung mga simulations natin. Sa 3ds Max, we use Mass Effects. Now sa Blender, we have yung standard na effects natin, no? Yung physics system natin doon. So we won't cover that na unless kailangan nyo sa, ano nyo, sa finals output nyo, which again, I'm going to be leaving a doc file. Then lagay nyo lang doon kung may gusto kayong matutunan for your finals para malagay nyo sa finals output nyo, no? So, yun. Okay? So, yan. That's modifier animation. Now, graph editor. Now, before we actually do that, let's clean things up muna. No? Let's clean things up and then let's try to animate this ball, no? So, Blender guys, Blender users, follow along with me kasi I'll be using 3ds Max na muna dito. So, I'm going to try to animate a jumping ball muna. No? So, first, of course, gagawa ko yung mga key poses niya, no? Yung mga main na keyframes natin. So, of course, we have yung stationary natin before the jump, and then we have the jump, no, to our maximum height. So that's one keyframe there. And then, of course, yung pagbagsak niya. No? So siguro somewhere around 30, 32 maybe. Tingnan natin kung gaano kabilis. So I'm just going, so around frame 32, like since para more effective yung pag-ano ko dito, I'm just going to duplicate yung frame 0 ko dito because doon lang naman siya. Doon siya stationary. So yon. Tingnan natin kung gaano ka-normal yung itsura. Okay, masyadong mabigat yung feeling, no? So, adjust natin to 35. Now, as much as possible, guys, before we use our graph editor, try to animate yung yung objects nyo to make it look as naturally as possible. Lalo na kapag falling yung yung falling object nyo, no? Try to make it as smooth as possible already para kakaunti na lang yung gagawin nyo sa graph editor, no? Tsaka sa dope sheet nyo. So this one, I think masyado pa ring bagal. Wait, actually, instead of actually I have an idea on what I can do, no? So ulitin ko na lang yung ginawa ko na peg for my activity 8. So for this one, I'm actually satisfied with this one for now, no? For now na muna kasi madali ko na ma-adjust yung mga keyframes ko dito. Now, let's say this is a frame 0. I want this one to squash it up a bit, no? So nakalagay pa rin ako sa auto key. So that's okay. Now that one, okay. And then since yung ano ko dito, that's a problem, no? That's a problem. So I'm going to squash that down. Hindi siya kinuha ng auto key, no? So set key ako dyan. And then for this one, I'm going to ulit itong 100 because I don't need that. So set. Okay, so I want it sa frame 0, squash down siya and then stretch out siya somewhere around frame 2. So stretch out ko siya around here to basically add some character. Okay. Okay. So yun, squash and then stretch. I think masyadong mabilis. Masyadong mabilis yung So just keep adjusting. Okay, it looks weird pa. Masyado pang weird. So I'm going to slightly adjust this one. Add ako ng in-between. Make it look as good as possible to how I want it. Okay, so I think that should be good for now. So, pamunta siya, squash, and then slight stretch, and then full stretch, and then balik siya to original scale. And then this one, I want a bit of airtime siya dito, no? So I'm going to add a bit of down keyframe siya dito. Then basically this one is just going to slightly up that one out para may konting airtime siya. Ayan. Okay. So may konting airtime. And then balik siya dito. Now this one, babalik siya to a squash. No? Para since may konting uniqueness naman siya, I'm not going to be using the same keyframe. So I'm just going to manually squash this one again. But not fully squash naman na. This one. Then I'm going to set T just in case. Natin. Oops, may konting problem. Kasi nag-squash siya kaagad dito. Now, dito sa frame 35 siya. No? So frame 34, since ang nagiging problem ko dito, nag-i-squash na kaagad siya from frame 23 to frame 35, maglalagay ako ng isang keyframe dito sa frame 34 na nakalagay ito to maximum scale because yun ang gusto ko eh. So, lalagay ko siya para maging normal na itsura siya. And then down, down, down. Still at normal scale. And then pag hit ng 35, boom. Boom. Okay. I think masyadong mabilis. Okay, masyadong instantaneous. So that's weird. So, lipat natin siya to frame 36 para more natural. Masyado pa rin mabilis. So, frame 38. Mali ako ng tingin. Okay. So, okay. Mali pala ginagawa ko. So, I'm going to undo that. Undo what I just did. I'm still going to be using this one. Since this one is already at 0 out, okay, I'm going to put this one, yung z-axis 0 out. I think that's what I'm doing wrong. So 0 out para naka-lie flat na agad siya. And then this one is going to have a scale of equal scale. So 100 ko yan. Para this one, para on hit dito, itong next frame ko will be like a sort of squash na siya, no? So, try ko play. Still looks weird. Wait, I think instead na fully squash, what I can do is it still looks weird now. So what I'm going to try and do that, and then that, and then tumahan ulit. Try kong itsura. How it looks. It still looks weird, no? Still medyo junky yung itsura. So, medyo paghiwalayin ko yung mga keyframes. One, two, okay. Try to look kung ano itsura. Okay. Okay, I think I'm sort of okay with that for now. Ano? It has a bit of junk. Medyo junky pa yung animation niya. So, I think masyadong matagal yung overall na, no? So I'm going to try to readjust this one a bit. Slightly faster yung jump. Okay, I think that's sort of okay na muna for now, ano? So if you try to redo what I did, no, just a bouncing ball or jumping ball, no, and then let's say I'm okay with this one for now, ano. Pero syempre may konting problems natin dito, like yung bilis niya, yung gaano siya kabilis yung ano, from let's say it's a frame 20 and to the falling down action niya from frame 20 to frame, was it 38, no? So from frame 20 to frame 38, medyo it feels off, no? Parang it doesn't It doesn't feel like an actual ball na nagda-drop. Parang meron siyang may konting fade off na ano tayo dito no? May konting curve tayo na speed, no? It looks weird, no? So what we're going to do next is we're going to alter yung speed ng falling down action na yon, no? From frame 20 to frame 38 na yon. So paano natin gagawin yon? We're actually going to make use of our graph editor or yung tawag natin na curve editor, no? So graph editor, or in some softwares, curve editor, allows you to graphically alter the speed of the changes / transformation in your animation, no? So sa 3ds Max, pretty simple lang siya, no? So gagawin lang natin, let's actually turn off auto key na muna, just in case. Baka mamaya may magkaroon tayo ng any unnecessary na changes. So dito sa ating sa ating 3ds Max, pupunta tayo dito sa ating graph editors. So sa menu bar, graph editors, select that, and then select natin itong track view - curve editor. Select natin yan, and this will open up this thing, no? Now ngayon wala siyang currently laman kasi wala tayo nakaselect na object. Now, but when I select my sphere, no, notice nyo, nagkaroon tayo ng graph natin dito. This is actually the speed, no? Yung speed ng ating frames, no? So what we have here, like I said, gusto kong gawin dito, ibahin yung frame 20, around frame 20 to frame 38. No? So I'm going to find it here. So z-axis siya, no? So z-axis yung pag-falling down action natin dito. So itong part right here, ito yung falling down action eh. So this one right here, so around frame 31, tama ba? Around frame 31, it already reached it there na, no? Nag-reach na pala siya sa ground ng frame 31. No? So, and then we have a stationary moment right here from frame 31 to frame 38. No? So, 20 to 31 tayo mag-titingin ng, ng ating graph. No? So, this one right here is our frame 20, that one right here. Ito, naka-highlight natin dito. Now, okay lang sa akin dito na may konting fall off siya kasi normal lang yan eh when it comes to something bouncing na na bola, no. May konting slight na short air time siya na magi-stay siya at the maximum point, no. And then mag-fall down siya ng mabilis dahil, gravity, no. So, I want this one to have around here sa frame 31, I want this one to have a linear na tangent natin dito, no. So, ang gagawin ko dito, so nakaselect ako dito sa 31, no? So, 31, there we go. So, ito yung 31 natin. So, I'm going to select that. And then, dito sa ating curve editor ko, I'm going to select this one. Itong set tangents to linear. Select ko yan. And then, notice nyo, from curve siya, naging straight line siya. So, tingnan natin kung anong itsura niya. Now, most of the time, this will work, no? It's going to look naturally na. Now, ngayon, masyadong mabilis pa rin, no? Masyadong mabagal pala, parang lumulutang siya. So, most likely, I'm going to readjust this one na lang, no? Pero, but the falling down action looks linear naman na, no? Wala siyang kahit anong sort of fade in dito, papunta sa ground time niya, no? Compare natin kanina. So, I'm just going to adjust this one a bit, 3 frames closer. So, tingnan natin. Masyadong bilis. Select natin yan. Click natin. Okay. I think that sort of looks natural. Or masyado pa rin mabagal. As tingin nyo guys, masyado pa rin mabagal. Tingnan natin yan. So, animate natin. Oh, I think that's the winner na. Sort of. Now, konting edit na lang tayo siguro dito sa curve editor. Somewhere around here. So to edit yung mga curves natin dito sa ating editor, select lang kayo ng sa mga keyframes natin dyan. Ito yung mga gray spots natin. No? Select natin yon. And then meron kayo makikita ng mga natin dito parang sa Bezier natin. No? So select, i-drag lang natin yung mga points na yon kung saan nyo gusto to basically try and make it look natural as possible. No? So just natin. Okay, that's sort of okay naman na. So, okay na muna ako dyan for now, no? Now, dito naman sa Blender. Now, hindi ko na uulitin yung ginawa ko sa animation. So, I'm just going to redo it and I'm just going to point out kung saan yung mga linear na yon, kung saan yung linear and then paano nyo i-edit, no? So, gawin ko na lang dito, this one right here, and then I'm just going to duplicate this one to around, let's say, frame 40. Okay na yan. Okay na muna yan. So, ayun. Let's say we have our finished animation. Assume nyo na lang finished animation to, no? So, I'm going to do, we can actually change this one to our graph editor, no? Pwede natin gawin yun, or we can actually add another viewport right here, no? So, dito naman ako, mag-i-split ko tong part na to. Dito yung timeline ko, dito yung curve editor ko. So, gawin ko naman dito, instead na horizontal, this one is vertical split naman, para right down the middle. Now, for this one, dito ko lalagay yung graph editor ko. So, change ko lang ulit yung editor type ko. This one right here, itong nasa top left. Always nasa top left corner siya, yung mga editor type na selection. Select ko yan, and then this time, I'm going to select graph editor. Select ko yan, and then there we go. Now, it looks just the same lang rin naman, no? It looks just the same, no? So, remember to just check it lang, no? So, yun. Dito yun. There's our frame 20. There's the highest point. And then we have here, dito yung sa falling down action natin. It's a frame 40. That's our frame 40. Now, dito naman sa natin, you can click down dito sa object transform natin dito because dito yung natin, yung mga transformation natin. No? So, select ko tong object transformation ko dito. And then this time, I'm going to select yung Z, Z location lang naman natin kasi Z lang naman yung ginagamit natin dito. So, Z location. So, yun yung Z location natin, ano? This one right here. Ito mo, tama ba? Where is it? Itong Z location na, ito. This one. So, I'm just going to slightly i-adjust ko lang yan kung gusto kong ganyan. Pwede rin naman ganyan. Manually ka adjust, or what I can do, ano yung muna to? Stretch out ko to. Okay, hindi pinapakita. So, ito na lang. So, ito pala. So, I'm going to select this one right here. Itong fall off natin dito. No? So, select ko tong, not that one, this one. And then, select ko lang this one right here. Itong nasa corner natin dito, top right corner. Ito yung mga fall off natin. This one going kong linear. No? So, yeah. So, on ko pala yun, no? So, yeah. Up, Z location, then linear, and then I'm just going to adjust it again, no? Oops, not that one. Now, itong problem dito, no? Masyadong magkakadikit. So, dahan-dahan lang sa, oops, not that one. So, dahan-dahan lang sa pag-press ng mga nyo dito, no? Now, kung ano naman yan, ito lang yung medyo dito medyo inefficient dito sa Blender, no? Masyadong magkakadikit yung mga parts natin dito. What I can do siguro, since di ko naman kailangan yung X location ko dito, itong Y location, I can just simply delete that naman na, no? Para minimize natin. And kailangan ko lang naman dito is yung Z location ko for now, no? Kapag sinusundan nyo ako, this might differ from you guys, no? Depende sa ginagawa nyo. But in this case, I'm just listening yung kung ano meron ako dito sa scene ko, no? So, yan. Now, kapag naka-turn on to, itong part natin dito, manonotice nyo dito, once I'm trying to edit out, magiging linear sort of yung yung proportional editing natin dito, which is we don't want, no? Sadly nga lang, wala tayong kahit anong natin dito. So, ang gagawin lang natin dito, interpolation type natin dito, lagyan natin dito sa linear. And then, automatic na siyang mag-linear na. Konting adjustment lang tayo na konti dito para konting, tayo dyan, sort of straight pa yung natin, yung pag-fall niya. Notice nyo na already yung difference. Dire-diretso na siya. Wala na siyang kahit anong fall off. Wala siyang kahit anong airtime other than sa taas natin dito, no? But at least dire-diretso siyang bagsak, ano? So, yun. Okay? Klaro ba so far? Klaro ba so far? Curve editor. Now, most of the time, guys, rarely nyo magagamit talaga tong curve editor dito other than the times when you're going to be animating characters, no? That basically relies on gravity, no? Rarely nyo magagamit tong curve editor. Ako, rarely kong ginagamit yan. But it's there if you want it to, no? To basically try and adjust nga yung natin, yung speed from frame to frame nga natin by using yung mga interpolations natin dito. Like for example, yung linear natin dito, to basically straighten it out. But you don't really need to set this one because you can actually manually change it naman because you have your handles right here, You can actually manually change it without the use of yung mga tangents natin dito. Okay? Okay? Claro so far? Claro so far?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, 3ds Max users, klaro ba so far? If you're following along, might as well do yung bouncing ball activity nyo, no? 3ds Max users, klaro ba so far? 3ds Max users?
Yes naman po.
Okay, so I'm assuming that answer is the same for the rest, no? So, okay na tayo sa graph editor. Next, dito tayo. Oh, I don't know. This same type of stuff, no? Similar lang naman yan. Pero ang problem, ang iba lang dito, wala tayong kahit ang demonstration dito. So you're gonna have to go back to this recording to actually see the demonstration ng graph editor, no? So keep that in mind. Next, itong dope sheet. Now, itong dope sheet, literally, this is just a glorified timeline. It's a much sort of better timeline in a sense, no? Ang pagkakaiba lang ng timeline sa dope sheet, timeline, you can already see yung mga natin, like let's say yung mga yung mga stationary na moments natin dito. Notice natin yan. Now, when it comes to dope sheet naman, this is basically just it lang naman. This is basically your dope sheet already, no? Kapag nakasi itong parts natin dito, like let's say I'm going to add one more cube. This one. You can already see your dope sheet right here dito sa Blender. Because andito yung may mga tayo dito. May data na tayo dyan. Ito yung sphere action natin. Ito yung animation niya. And then ito yung transform, no? So basically what's happening sa animation natin. Dito nakalagay lahat ng data about your animation or your transformation. So di ba remember when I said it sa once we add keyframes, may location, rotation, and scale tayo, no? So, kapag sinelect natin yan, makikita natin yan. Ayun, there we go. Makikita natin yan dito sa ating miniature dope sheet already dito, no? But let's say we actually want to see the actual dope sheet ng Blender, no? So, same case lang rin. This time, let's use this one right here. Select ko naman to, editor type, and then this time, select ko naman dope sheet. And like I said, it's literally just the same, guys, no? It's literally just the same as your timeline. Personally, di ko na binabago yan. But yeah, it's literally just the same as your timeline lang naman. Sa 3ds Max nga lang, it's a bit different, no? Because unlike sa Blender, di kasing accurate yung timeline natin sa 3ds Max when it comes to giving out data, no? Other than yung color coding natin dito, no? So gagawin natin, we're actually going to open our dope sheet, no? So balik tayo dito sa graph editors. And then this time, select natin itong track view dash dope sheet. And then there we go. Now, again, ito rin, it's literally just the same lang rin naman as your Blender, no? Only this time, medyo masakit sa ulo. Medyo masakit sa ulo tingnan yung sa 3ds Max actually, no? But let's see here, no? So we have here our position, our rotation, and then our scale, no? So this is basically it, no? It's literally just the same lang rin naman, no? And then once I add the box, let's say add ako ng box, and then yan, notice nyo, nawala yung natin dito, no? And then let's say add ako add ako ng set key dito, add ako keyframe dyan, and not that one. Wait. Tama, this one. And then this one, I'm going to move it somewhere around here, and then set keyframe. We open up that. Okay. So this one, I'm going to turn it off, and then graph editors, dope sheet ulit, and then there we go. So yun, no? So remember, like I said kanina, sa 3D space, each object has their own data, no? So yun, once I'm selecting, notice nyo, ayun yung sa sphere natin, and then once I click on yung plus icon natin dito, ayan, dito yung transform. So yan, This one, same goes, no? So dito nyo makikita lahat ng data concerning the animation na nangyayari dun sa keyframes nyo, no? So, yan. Very useful tool to use. Siguro you might want to keep this one in a minimize na minimize na window, no? Once you're working kasi hindi nyo pwedeng malagay ito anywhere because this is like a window already, So, sadly, if you don't have a second monitor, nakalagay lang yan. But if you have a second monitor, then that's good. much easier to view your dope sheet, no, sa 3ds Max. But I'm not really saying na kumuha kayo ng second monitor. It's just very palit pala, no? Well, pangit. Pangit na palagay natin yan. So apparently, yes, you can actually link it sa somewhere dito, no? But it looks weird, no? It looks weird. So I'm just going to remove that. Hindi ko alam kung pwede paglagay dito. Wala na. Wala dito lang sa taas. So yeah, that's the dope sheet, guys. Now, there's really nothing special about it. Like I said, it's literally just a glorified timeline, no? So really nothing special about it. Okay? Oof, 359 na. Okay? So clear so far sa graph editor and dope sheet. Understood so far on what those two are? Understood so far, guys? Graph editor and dope sheet. Klaro pa ba? Gising ba kayo? Tanong kaya ako. Joke lang. So, guys? Klaro ba so far? Clear so far? Klaro. Okay? Okay. Now, last part na tayo sa basics of 3D animation, which is saving animation. Di pala basics of 3D animation. Sa last part na tayo ng keyframe animation, no? Basically, saving our animations, no? So, saving animations, pretty basic, no? So, of course, syempre, you might want to have a camera on standby, no? So, gawa lang ng camera, simple camera. And then this one, it already has an animation, no? So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to adjust everything. Oops, that one, para highlight ko lahat. So, I'm going to render this out, no? I want this one, and for this one, maximize ko yung frames ko, no? So, since na binigyan ko na ng effort tong animations ko dito, might as well see it through, no? So this one, para mag-perfect loop siya, gawin ko perfect loop na lang to, no? So I'm going to drag this one, first keyframe ko, to around frame 55 para on next loop, lagay ko lang frame 60 para sakto na. Even Steven. Okay, frame 60, okay. And then, configure ko lang yung length ko from 100 to 60. So, okay na ako dyan. Okay ko na. So, I just remembered lang. Okay, naka 30 FPS ako. I mean, that's okay lang naman. 30 FPS, that's okay. So, all right. So, this should be 2 seconds worth of animation, no? Oops. So, nalimutan ko na to, no? So, this one, I'm going to put it naman dito sa Paano ko gawin to? How do I want to animate this box right here? Let's tingnan pa. Ano ba pwede ko ma-animate dito sa box para maging loop din to? We can just squash it down, no? I think we can squash it down to make it look planar. So around, let's say around frame 50, I'm going to, reset ko siya back dito. I'm going to have it the same frame, only this time, I'm going to squash this down. Okay. So set key ako dyan. Wait, di pala ako naka-animation mode. Okay, so forgot about that, no? So don't forget. So animation mode, no? So I'm going to redo this one again. Oops, doon na pala. Okay. This one, I'm going to add a squash dito. And then, wait, actually before that, wait, no. Tama lang, tama. I'm just going to add a keyframe na lang dito sa somewhere around frame, around frame ba to? Around frame 31. I'm going to start squashing it down. And then around this one right here, around this one, I'm going to start squashing it up, stretching it up, and then this one, sure, 100 ko na to para full loop na. Okay? Okay. Okay, tingnan natin kung maganda yung loop. Oops, may problem ako. I think what's off here is yung camera. May animation ako. So, nakaset nga pala ako sa auto key. So, any movement that I did, any movement that I did sa camera ko, nakuha niya din. So, tanggalin ko lang yan. So, that's okay. Camera targets, same lang rin. Delete ko yan. Okay. Okay, that looks okay na. Alright, so save na tayo ng animation. Let's say, okay na ako dito sa animation ko. I'm going to save it na. Pretty simple, guys, no? So, turn off ko muna to just in case, no? Turn off ko muna yung auto key. So, gagawin lang natin to save it. We're going to press F10 or we're just going to open our render setup, no? So, render setup, this one right here, I think you already know this about na. So, render setup or press F10. And then this time, now usually dito sa render setup natin sa 3ds Max, dito sa time output natin nakalagay na siya palagi to single because we're just rendering a single frame sa ating scene, no? This time, gagamitin natin yung second option right here, itong active time segment, 0 to 60. No, itong active time segment, this basically uses yung ano natin, yung buong entire timeline natin dito, no? So from 0 to 60, kung nakalagay yung length ko is 60, no? So ayan, nakalagay dito. 0 to 60. Or we can use tong range natin. Like let's say, around dito sa frame, around dito lang naman sa frame 58 gusto ko. Pwede kong gawin yun, no? So from 0 to 58 yung pipiliin ko. But for this one, I'm just going to be using active time segment ko, no? So after that, of course, select your output size. Tingnan nga natin kung ano itsura nitong output size ko. Naka 1280 by 720. Does it look good? So it looks weird, no? So gawin lang natin, custom natin. Let's, tingnan muna yun, 640 by 480 para mabilis yung render natin. And then after that, you're pretty much done naman, no? It doesn't matter kung ano yung renderer nyo, so it's all good, no? So ang gagawin lang natin, we're just going to click Save File. Click lang natin to, Save File. It will open up yung kung saan nakalagay yung directory nyo. So let's say, this one, I'm going to put it somewhere. Now, preferably, guys, once you're going to be saving once you're saving your animation, you have two options, no? Both for 3ds Max and Blender. Your first option is, of course, a direct video format already. Now, sa 3ds Max, yung direct na video format niya is AVI. I don't recommend it because AVI are known for their very high storage, no? Not storage, very high memory. Na kahit minsan it's only a few seconds long, it's going to have like 10 MB plus, no? Minsan yun. Depende yan sa quality ng actual na ni-render nyo. Or yung second option natin, which is the more efficient option, which is yung mga image sequence natin, no? So, preferably either of the two, much better to make a new folder for it. So I'm just gonna call this one new folder. I'm going to call treat. I already have some test folders here na for my pegs, no? So 03, and then I'm going to put it here. Now itong file name natin, much better na you don't put any sort of numbers dito para hindi kayo malito. So this one I'm just going to call ball and cube, and then you have your save as type, yung mga file formats natin. Like I said, no, pwede kayong go AVI, but I I don't recommend it because high chance din na mag-crash din yung computer nyo dito while you're rendering. Like for example, na sobrang high quality yung ano nyo, yung buong scene nyo, no? Dami yung lights, dami yung whatever dyan sa scene nyo, may problem, magka-problem kayo sa pag-render ng AVI, no? Magre-render siya, yes, pero at the cost of very high na render time niyan, ano? Very, very high render time, and then, yun nga, like let's say, you're working on a computer desktop, biglang nag-brown out, bye-bye. Wala kayong nakuhang any sort of output. So, it has its risk, no, yung AVI natin. And then, yung second option nga natin, yung image sequence natin. Now, much better na PNG siya para high quality yung ano, yung maging output niya. So, PNG sequence siya, no? So, select lang natin yung PNG and then we can actually just save it naman na, no? Save it. And then PNG configuration, just leave it at that, no? So, press lang natin OK. And then once naka-okay na yon, once naka-set up na yung save file natin, we just click on render. And then, manonotice nyo, ayan, no, multiple yung pag-render niya, no? So, remember, like I said, guys, always take into account whatever you have sa scene nyo when it comes to rendering time. Lalo na sa 3D animation, guys, no? So, remember what I shown you during the briefing natin, yung midterms and finals natin. Remember, yung mga example na ginawa na pinakita ko sa inyo, bakit wala silang halos lights, di ba? Yun yung tanong ko, di ba? Bakit wala? Ito yung reason, no? So, yan. 15 seconds din kami, guys, no? 15 seconds din yung animation time namin. Pero most of the examples that I've shown you, wala silang halos lights. Ako lang halos yung may lights kasi medyo okay yung computer ko, no? And hindi ako nag-render dun sa computer facilities namin sa SDA, no? So, yun. So, once that's done, minimize ko lang to. Oops. Minimize ko lang yan. And then, punta ako dito sa somewhere ko sa nilagay yun. Dito sa something. And then this one. And 03. Now, ito, nilagay kasi PNG ako. And then, wala akong background kaya itsurang ganyan. But, as you can already notice, no? Yan. You can easily import this naman na sa nyo, sa Premiere Pro nyo. Automatic naman na yon since Premiere Pro takes image sequences. So, that's completely okay, no? Just drag on one of it. I think you already know what happens naman na, no? So, drag it lang naman. Just drag one simple na PNG lang sa to Premiere Pro. Madidetect naman niya, is this an image sequence? Just click on yes, and then yon, import niya kagad. But I'm also going to show you a neat trick. Like, let's say, wala kang Premiere Pro, no? Let's say, wala ka ng storage for Premiere Pro, but you have Blender, no? Let's say you have Blender. So, let's say, nag-import na render ka ng animation as PNG sequence sa 3ds Max, pero wala kang any video editing software that takes PNG sequences. Like, for example, Movavi, no? So, that's gonna be bad, no? So, paano natin gagawin tong video format, no? So, other than yung pag-render na lang natin as render animation. I'm going to show you that later, no? I'm going to show you that later. Unahin muna natin dito sa Blender, no? So, sa Blender naman, saving animation natin, just a simple lang rin. Super simple lang rin. And this one is much better din. Much better naman, slightly. So, of course, unahin muna natin render properties, Render properties muna tayo, of course. Max samples natin, guys, you don't really need 4,096 samples, no? So, be very careful na sa pag-animate ng animation. Make sure yung max samples nyo, it's something more realistic and something na kayang i-handle ng computer nyo. So, around 100 should do just fine, or 250 maximum, guys. That's what I usually do kapag sobrang well lit yung yung scene ko, yung buong scene ko, there's lights everywhere, no? 250, that should do just fine kasi may denoise ka naman. So 250 should do well just fine. It's still going to take a lot of time, no? Depende sa rig mo, no? But this one should do just fine, no? So okay, now sa render properties ko, balik ako dito sa output properties. Of course, next, wait, not that one. It's yung camera ko. So camera, of course, first, of course, i-set nyo muna yung camera nyo because you can't really render out an animation without your camera. So I'm just going to set up lang yung camera ko dito. So, may animation ko dito. Yep, yun lang. Simple lang. So, this one, gawin ko naman ano, 720 para ano, sort of portrait format. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Okay, so okay na muna ako dyan. Ganyan yung gusto kong format, let's say, no? And then, this time, add naman ako ng ano, add lang ako ng dynamic sky para may konting uniqueness naman tayo, no? May background ako. So, still remember this one, dynamic sky natin dito, no? So, entered, it's still going to be like that, no? So, okay na yan. Now, next, of course, saving na tayo. Save na tayo, no? So, I want this one, a perfect loop then. Like, let's say perfect loop. Guys, to create a perfect loop, guys, sa mga animation nyo, I think this should pretty much be ano na, common sense naman na because some of you guys already took 2D animation. So, to make a perfect loop, dapat guys, yung frame zero nyo, yung start frame nyo, tsaka end frame nyo, they always have to be the same, no? To have that, ano, continuous loop natin na ginagawa, no? So, yun, pwede natin gawin yan, no? So, ano ba yung maximum frame ko dito? 40. So, maximum frame natin, 40 na lang. Sobrang baba, no? So, that's barely 1 second. So, barely 2 seconds pala, no? So, okay na ako dyan. Then, we're just gonna scroll down again. Punta naman tayo dito sa ating output. So, dito sa output, this part right here is your directory. Select natin yan. So, select tayo kung saan natin gusto lalagay. Gusto natin lalagay yon. Again, preferably in a new folder para, let's say, gusto natin gawing PNG sequence, ano? So, we're just gonna accept that para, again, accept. So, yun, nandun na yung ano ko, yung directory ko. Now, again, like 3ds Max, we have 2 options na more likely na gagawin nyo any of the 2. So, of course, number 1, we have your PNG na. We have your PNG or yung ano natin, yung image sequence natin. And then we have our AVI. But we don't want to use AVI here, no? Gagamit natin itong FFmpeg video because this one converts it already to an MP4, no? So, less time tayo dito konti, no? But there's actually a more efficient way, no? When instead of using this one. So, for now, gamitin natin tong PNG, no? Gagamit tayo ng image sequence and then i-convert natin yung image sequence natin into a video format, no? Para much less pa ulit yung ano natin, yung data, no? Yung data size pala, yung size ng file pala natin, no? So, first, okay na muna ako dyan. PNG, that's okay. Wala naman ako kailangan gawin dyan, no? So after that's all set, I'm just going to click on dito sa menu bar ko, select ko tong render, and then press ko tong render animation or shortcut natin, Control plus F12. So yan, select ko lang yan, and then we just let it render, no? Now, masyadong mataas pa rin tong ano ko. masyadong mataas. Babaan ko na lang yung ano ko, max samples ko para mas sobrang bilis. Gawin ko lang sa F10, and then we can render animation ulit. Bilis yung render na 40 frames ko. And then manonotice siya dito, compared kanina sa pag-render natin, hindi nag-i-scrub siya sa timeline natin. Dito sa Blender, it's actually good na visually nakikita mo kung saang frame na siya kasi ini-scrub niya dito sa. So yun.